are listening to the Heavy Metal Hangover, where the beer is always cold and the music is always heavy.
With your hosts wearing jeans and leather, not Cracker Jack clothes, Rex and Duff.
Welcome to another episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover. My name is Duff.
My name is Rex, last time I checked.
And are you still planning on hitting the sauce pretty hard tonight?
I have had a week, man. I've had a week. That's all I can say.
I know.
I've had a week. I've had a week, man. Like, I'm not going to complain about it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, but I've had a week. Well,
that's why I'm just wondering.
Oh, yeah. I poured myself, I even have a fresh bottle of whiskey with me. Like, I finished the last one before the show, so I have a fresh bottle of whiskey with me. You're going to hear me open it at some point throughout the show. I'm actually excited for tonight's episode because I was gonna say I don't think we did this last year.
I don't remember. I really don't. I don't remember if we did. I would look, but I don't. That's our listeners. It's not our job to listen to the show. You know what I mean? They don't pay us to listen to this.
They don't pay us at all.
Well, they don't pay us to make it, but. And actually, there is no they.
That's true. That's true.
Who is this they?
Who is this they?
There is no they.
No, but yeah. So I'm gonna be hitting the sauce. So by the end of the episode, I might start. I'm trying to remember that Homer Simpson. Like he started making Oh, that's right. He started making threatening comments to the UN. I'm gonna start sounding like Dave Mustaine in. On what United Abominations.
Well, as long as you're not like Dave Mustaine drinking Scope, you'll be okay.
Dude, it has been a minute since we talked about Dave Mustaine drinking Scope. We need to bring that back. There's a few things we need to bring back on this show. Whip and Skippy, Dave Mustaine drinking Scope.
You know, if it's one of those, like I know you went to a Marty Friedman signing, but if there's ever one with Dave Mustaine, you should bring a bottle of Scope and see if we'll sign it. You know, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's in poor taste, but
you'd be like, I'm not
Dave
Mustaine.
Like, what could you possibly say to Dave Mustaine that would be any worse than Dave Mustaine has said about pretty much everybody else?
No, the worst possible thing you could bring Mustaine. Actually, you know what's funny? I thought about this. If you brought Dave Mustaine a copy of Kill 'Em All to sign, would he be offended or flattered? Because he always talks about how he wrote the entire
he's probably
album.
Signed it a billion times. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you handed him that, he'd be like, I'm not even in this band, but you wrote the whole album. Oh, I guess that's true. You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious. Would he get this and be like, why are you handing me Metallica to sign? Or would he be like, haha, and then sign it? You know what I mean?
Well, He was pissed when he didn't get to when he wasn't inducted in the Hall of Fame with him.
Yeah.
They're like, we have to have recorded. He's like, I did, dude.
No life to leather.
Okay. It's like you're right. But I mean, if that's the case, what happens if Steely Dan gets inducted? Does every member of Toto get inducted too because they played on records? Like it's weird. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I am aware that it's oddly. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke, first of all. So who cares? But I realize sometimes it's kind of odd. It's like, well, in this band's case, you inducted that guy, but then in this case, you didn't induct someone. So sometimes it's a little weird. I mean, it would kind of be like if they didn't induct Cliff Burton, because in fairness, he was only in the band for like 4 years.
Yeah, but he recorded on 3 albums.
No. I know that's what I'm saying. Their criteria for whether or not someone gets inducted is it's just you don't know.
I always thought it should be up to the band.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sometimes the only problem there then is you get
I genuinely think I can't imagine a band's gonna be like, oh, hey, remember Jimmy? He played with us for 2 weeks. He should be in here.
Yeah, but then you would have Pink Floyd who would refuse to let who would refuse to let, I don't know, the guy who wrote The Wall and sang on their records.
Well, no,
they don't like him. But
I think what I'm talking about though is a criteria, meaning you take a period of time and say, we're going to take a period of time of these albums. You're getting in effectively for your work in the 70s, 80s, whatever, right? And then after that, be like, because Metallica, I know they wouldn't have, but Metallica could have said, well, I mean, our entire first album was, written by Mustaine, so he should be here. Like, I think the band should have input, maybe not the decision making, but they should have input. You know what I mean? Where it's not like, oh, you're going to tell us who's getting into. Because look, like you said, the whole thing's a joke, anyways. I mean, the whole thing's a money making.
It's the dumbest thing.
It's a money making scheme, is what it is.
Well. What's really funny is I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when it opened. It was that first year it was open.
Me too.
Yeah, I know you did too.
We both lived like right there.
Yeah. What's funny about it is that when it started, I was like, wow, this might be really cool. And then I mean, you realize the Hall of Fame in every category, in every situation, dude, it's political. It's all of that. I mean, this is every Hall of Fame ever, and I don't even want to go down this road. But I mean, kind of, for example, like Chad Channing not being included with Nirvana or whatever. And it's like, the only member of the band who probably would have cared to be inducted was Chad Channing. Whether or not that's even true, I don't know if he cared to, but they're like, well, he's not. Well, yeah, but Nirvana was around for 4 or 5 years. It's like Nirvana was around for 5 years, and he was on one. They only had a couple of albums, and he was on one of them. So I mean, it's all just, it's weird. But anyway, the point is, Dave Mustaine is funny. I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but I was watching a video with him, and that big interview where he says that Metallica didn't write "Hit the Lights" either. Did you know that? Yeah, Dave Mustaine or Metallica didn't write "Hit the Lights" either,
and it was written before
he completely ripped it. Yeah. No. James didn't write it either. James completely ripped it off another band.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, but it was like a Leather Charm song or something like that, and James was in the band.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? It was one of those things. But
all right, so
anyway, the point I'm getting at, all I was saying was he definitely said when they're like, you sold 50 million albums, he's like, no, I sold 150 because technically I've sold Metallica records. So going back to it, he probably would sign it. But anyway, that's the answer.
Look, all I was trying to say is, oh, shut up! You make me sick.
You make me sick. UHF.
Anyway, so
I caught the reference.
Yes, you did. No, it's cool because there's some insane news coming out, and we normally don't do movie news, but they're making a sequel to Spinal Tap. They're making a sequel to Spaceballs. Like, unfortunately, I don't believe it's called The Search for More Money, which was a big swing and a miss in my opinion. It's crazy, man. Oh, Charlie Banani has been posting all over the place, like, 'cause it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws. He's on the road. He said he wishes he would have been able to go out to Martha's Vineyard and visit all the shooting sites, but film shooting sites. Like, it sounded weird.
Well,
to say that.
You never know.
But no, it's fun. He has pictures of him like meeting Richard Dreyfuss and stuff, and he has one of the big barrels from Jaws, and he had Richard Dreyfuss sign it. It looks like Charlie's a big nerd, and that's, I have to say, like,
he also has the T-shirt, right?
Oh, he's got he's got tons, but I mean,
no, but he's got the only one with the saying that anyone cares about.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
Exactly. Let's be fair. I'm aware there's another quote from that movie that's often misquoted, but I know there's another quote from that movie that people seem to care about. But can we just take that out of anyone's mind, because that's not the one that matters.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
That's the line that matters. Well, let's put it this way. That's the only one of the two that I would ever say. You know, I have no need for. Why would I talk about a boat unless it's a motorboat? I wouldn't talk about a boat or whether or not you might need a bigger one. In my case, though, here's a swimming with bow-legged women is something I would say.
Yeah, that's one reason why Scott would be cool, but I would love to hang out with Charlie. And the funny thing is, I could totally hang out with Charlie, and at no point would we talk about drums or heavy metal. I could literally just. I actually remember I've told the story on the show before. He used to have coffee, and I don't know if he still does or not. I used to get it occasionally. It's called Benanti's Blend, and I still have one of his T-shirts. It's one of my all-time favorite T-shirts. It just says "Forever Metal" in a circle with a big skull in the middle of it, and his symbol for his coffee publishing, what Benanti or whatever, is on the sleeve. So it's seriously, to this day, is just one of my all-time favorite shirts. Just "Forever Metal" with a skull on it. Anyways, so he used to post on social media about his coffee, and he was like, if I'm ever touring, and of course he was kidding about this. I'm like, if I'm ever touring in your area, invite me over. I'll come over and brew my own, brew my coffee for you or whatever. And I commented back to him. I'm like, dude, let's make it happen. I live in New Jersey, right outside New York. We can just hang out and play guitar and quote The Simpsons. And he replied back, yes. So I was like, if I ever meet him, I'm totally taking that screen cap and be like, dude, when you coming over, you can see all my NECA toys, because he collects those too. He's a big nerd. He's a big NECA toy. Actually, it's funny. The comic shop here in New Jersey, the owner he's a kind of a buddy of mine. Like, we don't go out drinking or anything like that, but we say hi to one another, and he helps me out with comics and stuff. He's actually thanked in Volume 8, The Threat is Real. I believe it's like, you see Charlie's thank yous, it's Corey from Toys R Us, because I guess they used to know one another when Charlie still lived in the area here, and he used to work at Toys R Us, and when the new Simpsons toys would come in, he would text or call Charlie and be like, hey, come on in, the new Simpsons toys got here. So Charlie would come in and then pick out all like the ones he wants, so he wouldn't have to like hunt around for them. So he got thanked in the Anthrax album, which is really, really cool. Yeah, so I don't know. It's really cool that it's funny. A small world. You meet it's funny what a small world this is. You know what I mean? I've met a couple people who are like, oh yeah, I know such and such. I was one of the guys I buy records from is like, oh yeah, I grew up with the Misfits. He's like, I know Jerry, I know Doyle, and of course he agrees. He's like, yeah, Doyle's a huge jerk, and Jerry's like the nicest guy you'll ever meet, and I can attest to that. I mean, I've never met Doyle, but I've heard stories, and you can just tell by his attitude online. But I remember like Jerry had a booth set up.
But the thing is, though, he's not a jerk. He's just a vegan.
But Jerry,
kind of the same thing.
Jerry had a booth set up at New York Comic Con, and occasionally people would come up to him. But he was sitting there by himself, and I walked up to him, and I was like, dude, like, I saw you play in my hometown, and I stood there and talked to him for like 45 minutes, and it was just casual conversation. It wasn't like, oh my God, you're so cool. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. It was just casual conversation. I think that was the same con. I can't remember if it was the same con or if it was a year before or after, where I met Joey Vera's wife, because Metal Blade had a booth set up. And I was just talking to the Metal Blade booth.
She works for Metal Blade and has for a billion years.
Yeah, she's like,
I don't remember.
She's like senior VP of marketing or something like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, which is half the reason why Joey's had a job all this many times.
Well, yeah, but it's funny though, because
partly, but
I was like talking to her. I'm just like, again, I was just, she's actually a fan. So, at a Comic-Con, I'm genuinely like looking at all their merch, and I ended up actually buying a copy of Cannibal Corpse's like biography, and it was signed by the whole band. And I was just talking to her, and she's like, oh yeah, and I had no clue who she was at the time, because she didn't have a name tag on or anything, and I've never seen a picture of her. And she's like, oh, I was just talking, I love Armored Saint and everything else. She goes, oh yeah, Joey Vera is my husband. And I was like, I thought, I'm sitting there thinking for a minute, and I'm like, at first I didn't make the connection, and I'm like, he's like making you work this booth. I'm just thinking to myself in my head, like, wait a minute, like he totally was like, dude, wow. Brian a solid, like, and oh wait, yes, you do work for Metal. She's like, oh yeah, I'm senior VP of marketing. I'm like, oh, and it made sense. But it was so cool. Like, I was like, oh, Joey Vera, okay, yeah, that's cool. Again, it's like a small world, and that's one thing I do. Dude, today I got a funny story. We always talk about these stories. And by the way, I wanted to actually preface this by saying something. I noticed that we had a ton of messages on our Facebook Messenger that I never replied to, and some of them were going back months. So if I didn't reply to your message, I apologize. For some reason, I never got notified they were there. I happened to have stumbled into our... I just got a new computer, and I've been like checking, like, you know, logging into everything over again. And I noticed that we had a ton of messages on Facebook, and I feel bad. So if I didn't respond to you, totally wasn't blowing you off, totally wasn't ignoring you. Instagram has kind of become our main output and our main contact point. We maintain a Facebook page, but it's mostly Instagram that both of us are kind of, you know, usually me, but sometimes Duff.
Well, it's also been more. It's cooperated with us more.
Yeah, the thing is, they won't let me connect.
Facebook hasn't cooperated as well either.
They won't let me connect our Facebook and Instagram because they said we broke some rule, some marketing rule, which I'm like, we're not even a business account. And
nothing we do is monetized.
Nothing we do is monetized. We accept no money. We don't sell anything. And I tried to appeal it and ask them what we did wrong, and they never got back to me. So they won't let us connect the two accounts, which is why we usually only post on Instagram, because neither of us has time to post in two places. I mean, it's just a reality. But anyways, what I was going to say, this ties into what I was going to say. I was literally walking through the mall today. I went to American Dream. It's like a massive mall. It has like an amusement park in it. It has water park in it. Roller coasters, you know, it has a place where you can ski indoors in it and everything. It's like a massive, massive complex. But I literally I had my Deceased shirt on. I had my Fearless Undead Machines shirt on. Some guy like just stops me and he goes, "Dude, I love Deceased." And we stood there and just had a conversation about local shows. Like, "Oh, I saw Nunslaughter a couple weeks ago." I was like, you know, I haven't been to a show in a little bit. I've been so busy. I saw Meshuggah and Corpse and Carcass. Oh, that's not... And again, literally, like, I just love the fact.
Cool.
I know. Like, he was telling me about the Nunslaughter show and how good it was. He said it was back in Ohio, and I told him, like, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm from Pennsylvania, like right outside of, you know, right on the Ohio border." "Oh really?" You know, and it was kind of crazy.
Well, there was a band we used to play with all the time that our matey. There was a name called Soulless, and there were guys from Soulless that were in Nunslaughter, and there was a big crossover between the two.
Yeah, but my point,
just to add to that.
But my point is, like, you know, again, it's just cool how I just stood there and talked to the dude, and the person I was with was like, "Who is that? Do you know them?" And I was like, "Nope." Like, we were just standing there talking, like literally, you would, if people walking past probably thought I knew this guy from like 20 years ago. Like, "Do you know him?" No idea who he was. I can't even remember his name. I don't even know if he said his name, to be honest with you. I just said, "Maybe I'll see you at some shows." And he's like, "Yeah, cool." So, I don't know, maybe he's listening right now for all I know. He's going to be like, "Oh my God, the guy in the mall was Rex." But, anyways.
I should have got his autograph.
So I could wipe my ass with it. I just watched the movie 50 First Dates. I know you hate Drew Barrymore.
More power to you, man.
No, but I know, but there's this.
I despise everything she's ever been in.
Fine. I kind of got a little bit of a thing for it, but anyways, there's this part in this movie where he draws a picture to try to impress her, and this guy sitting next to him looks over and goes, "Hey, can I have that?" And he looks at him and goes, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "I need something to wipe my ass with." I was just cracking up at that. And there's also a line that you would have said. Dan Aykroyd's in the movie, right? Whole thing is that Adam Sandler's a vet in the film, and he's working with walruses. And Dan Aykroyd's a doctor, and he says, "You know, it's very interesting. Walruses actually have the second largest penises on the face of the earth. I have the first." And I was like, dude, Duff would have totally said that.
Well, probably. What else was I doing?
It's funny. All my time on Instagram, half the time I'm sending reels to Duff saying "you." Like, dude, this is you.
Oh, it's because a lot of them are.
It's true. You're a character.
I mean, let's be fair.
Anyways, I've been rambling on a lot, so I must be the sauce must be hitting me pretty hard tonight. So,
well, the reason I asked you earlier if you were going to hit the sauce or you know, like the old ladies on the Waltons, you know, drinking the recipe. I was just wondering because I think if you're gonna say that you're gonna be hitting the sauce, I think you owe it to our listeners to deliver.
I thought you were gonna say if you're gonna,
you don't want to be one of these guys. If you're gonna spew into this. No, I mean, I think if you're gonna tell our listeners that you're gonna get. Well, I'm really the one who gets schlitzed. But if you're going to get sauced or whatever word you want to use,
got nothing better to do.
I think I think you owe it to our listeners that if about halfway through this episode you're not 3 sheets to the wind and buying random crap, I feel like we've let our listeners down.
I'll do my best, but I've only got. But I forgot to chill my Coke tonight, the soda. I'm not like hitting a bump or doing rails over here. So I've only got 3
You're
cans
not drinking
left.
Scope?
No, I'm not drinking Scope. No, so what we are going to do tonight, and we can get on subject now. We kind of primed them. We've primed them. Now we're ready just to get right to it. So I don't know if we did this before. I don't know if we did this last year or not. I kind of don't think we did, but we're going to do what we used to call so far so good so what. And it's coming up on July here, and we tend to kind of look back at the year so far and the albums that have, some of the albums that are obviously the albums that have come out, some of the albums that have been announced, and kind of give our, this is not a review, this is not a top 10, this is not like our rankings or anything like that. So it's just kind of
we're not ranking albums. These are not our
these aren't our favorites.
This is more, these are things we've heard.
Is there stuff that's come out that
some ones we really like
of note.
Yeah.
Of note to us. By the way, and again, if we don't talk about your favorite album, feel free to recommend it to us. Because it could just be that it's not a band that we pay attention to, and it's not outside of the realm of possibility that just because we don't like the band today, we won't like them tomorrow. I mean, we always give the example of you and I were not into Cattle Decapitation. Somebody said, dude, listen to Death Atlas, and now we're into Cattle Decapitation. So, anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, and actually, I will go as far as to say, I'm not into Cattle Decapitation. I don't like them at all, but I really like that album.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like them outside of that as well, but I think it plays to both points. I said, that album got you into Cattle Decapitation. In my case, I still don't like what they did before, and I don't like the album after it.
You don't like Terrace?
But our listener was right. I don't remember if Terrace... hold on. I got to look.
The Apothecary Extinction and Terracite both sound a lot like Death Atlas. That's why I'm surprised you don't like them.
Then, I don't remember. You're going to... No, I remember hearing Terracite and saying... let me clarify. When I mean I heard Terracite, I don't mean I listened to it and went, this is god-awful, and I turned it off. I just mean I just walked away not caring.
I dug it. I like that. And the Apothecary Extinction.
Death Atlas hit me. I don't know. Point being is Death Atlas hit me. There was something about it. Clicked with me. Thought it was pretty cool. That was, but never took it beyond that.
I thought
not
that
for any reason.
The albums that came before the Apothecary Extinction were okay. Like I like them. I'll listen to them. But that string of 3 albums, like I really, really like those. So, anyway, so why don't we dive right in? And I don't know. I'll start with one of mine. And actually, and full disclosure, I have not listened to all of these albums in their completion. So again, this is not a ranking. This is not I love this because these are bands that both Duff and I like that have released albums, and we're just going to kind of talk about them a little bit. Say they release an album and it's pretty cool, or it's not cool, or whatever.
Yeah, like you've got some that I'm not into. You've got some that I haven't heard yet. And vice versa. So yeah, I mean we're both going to talk about records that that caught our attention. Some, like I've got 7 particularly written down that I really like that have come out this year so far. Are they going to be on my top 10? I mean, there's a couple of them that are shoo-ins, but
and just to confirm,
but I don't know. I'm not thinking about it I'm not even thinking about it that way yet. I'm flat out saying there's records that have come out already that I haven't even heard just because I haven't heard it yet, or there's records that have come out already Like there's a couple on Rex's list that haven't done anything for me, but that doesn't mean they're not going to. These are just records that I have listened to up until this point, and I'm pointing out some that I really liked and pointing out some other ones that I've listened to. That's just it. It's literally just a snapshot in time of stuff that we've liked that's come out this year. And that's pretty much it.
I mean, the fact that we
nothing more official than that.
The fact that we each have a list of 14 albums with some crossover, but a list of 14. If we're here in June and there's been 14 albums of note, and I mean, full disclosure, the ones I haven't listened to, I own. They're sitting over there in my queue. I just have not had time to actually listen to them. So it's not like I'm putting these on my list to sound cool.
And actually, I will go as far as to say there would be 15 if I counted a record I've only heard one track off of.
And there are 2 on my list.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't add it. It's one that's on your list that I didn't put it on my... I think it's on your list. Yeah, there's one that's on your list that the only reason it isn't... In other words, like the reason I don't have 15 is because I just didn't list this one because I've only heard one track. But to play to your point, yeah, there's been, if you count that, then for me, it's like there's been 15 records that have been worth my time to listen to.
Yeah, and I do have
like I have 7 that I love and 7 that I'm like, they're cool. I'm not going back to them. I'm not listening to them all the time, but they were good albums.
And there's 2 on my list that haven't come out yet. But I've listened to the tracks they've released. One comes out next week, and I have it pre-ordered. I pre-ordered it directly from the band. One I'm just waiting. I think I don't know if the pre-order link is up yet. If it is, I'm going to pre-order that one. So again, let's dive right in. So the first one is I've heard 2 tracks off of it. I like what I've heard. I love their last album was awesome. I saw them when they came through with Death to All. I have not fully listened to this album yet because I was out all day long, and I literally got home at 8 p.m. We're recording this at midnight. We started actually recording this, doing all our prep and stuff like this at like 10:30. Got home at like 8 o'clock, and it was sitting on my porch. So I have not, and I don't like to listen. I mean, yes, you could say, well, why didn't you stream it? Well, I if I'm paying for a record, I want to listen to the record. Like that's how I want to experience the music. So if I'm paying for a record, so Cryptopsies and Insatiable Violence. I mean, the Burning of Gomorrah was insane. I loved that album so much. Like, I remember when that album came out, like, I don't even remember how long ago. I don't even remember. It was like 2, 3, 4 years ago at this point. It may have been 2 or 3.
I can look. Go for it.
It freaking...
I'll look while you're talking.
Yeah, I was going to say, it freaking, like, it didn't leave my, like, turntable.
2023. It was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Oh, I can't believe it was only 2 years. Feels like it was longer. It didn't leave my like turntable, iPod, whatever, iPhone, whatever, for weeks. I just loved listening to that album. It was so good. The tracks I've heard off Insatiable Violence are insanely good as well. I'm hoping this album lives up to the hype. Really and truthfully, since the Tome of Suffering EPs, I don't really think Cryptopsy's done anything wrong. They had I love their early stuff. Whisper Supremacy is probably my favorite of theirs. And Then You'll Beg is another favorite of mine. Now, I know those 2 albums are really, really divisive in the fandom because, they got rid of Lord Worm or, Lord Worm quit, whatever. They were no longer with Lord Worm, and Mike DeSalvo came in, and a lot of people didn't like his vocals because they felt like they were not death metal enough and they were too hardcore. I liked his vocals with the band. I thought it was a good meshing, whatever. Lord Worm came back later. They kind of dabbled in metalcore for a while, but then their self-titled brought them back. And I ever since, like I said, the Tome of Sufferings were amazingly awesome. Burning of Gomorrah was awesome. I'm really hoping this album lives up to it, man. Because Flo, I met their current lead singer. I think he's been with them since the Tome of Suffering albums, maybe the self-titled. I can't really remember. Nicest dude in the world. You can tell. I'm standing there watching the guy perform, and I'm like, this guy idolizes Corpse Grinder. And I don't know if he does or not, but his stage presence, the way he does vocals,
no way he doesn't.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way I'm like watching this guy play live, and I'm thinking to and I don't mean this in a he's trying to be Corpse Grinder way. I mean it in the same way that like every guitar player in the 80s tried to be Eddie Van Halen, that way. where you see somebody doing it perfectly and you're like, I know I'm never going to be that good, but I'm going to give it the best I can and just do it. He's awesome. Love his vocals. Nicest dude ever. Like, he was so friendly, took pictures with me. I didn't get anything signed because I didn't have anything on me, but and the merch I bought was like tucked in my pocket, and I hate having t-shirts signed because then you can't wash them. But anyway, so yeah, I'm hoping this album lives up to the hype. The 2 tracks I've heard are awesome, and I can't wait to listen to it. It's sitting upstairs right now. I literally took it out of the box, and I can't wait to get it on my turntable. And hopefully I'll listen to it tomorrow. But Cryptopsy's and Insatiable Violence. Hopefully everybody agrees that it's another great album by that band. Flo Mornier, like one of the grandfathers of, or I don't want to say grandfathers, one of the forefathers of extreme drumming. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I really don't.
Oh, no, he absolutely doesn't. We've talked about it for sure in the past, but he's a great drummer. So for the record, this was specifically the record that I was talking about when I said I only didn't list it because I've only heard 1 track.
Well, there's going to be a few of those for me on this list.
Actually, I don't know if that's necessarily true. And I only say this because it's very possible that I actually heard 2. I only ridiculously say that because I just don't remember if I heard 2.
I added it to my iTunes,
so
and
it's
as
possible.
the singles came out, I listened to them. It's
possible.
I will say this. That's one thing, normally, look, I'm not against streaming at all, and I'm not turning this conversation, but I will say this. I'm not against streaming, but one handy thing about streaming is when you know an album's coming out and it's set for pre-order, like Cryptopsy or Revocation's new album, it is kind of cool that when you add the album to your library, like especially with Apple Music or Spotify, that when those new songs come out, they automatically like show up and they tell you like, hey, they released a new song. It is kind of neat, and that way you don't, it kind of helps you keep track of some of this stuff. But anyways, go ahead. Why don't you pick an album?
No, that's cool. I just what I was going to say is I liked the track that I heard. I can confidently say I will like the record. And I say that because I'm with you. I liked As Gomorrah Burns as well, and I heard this one and said, "Oh, cool, yeah." I can't. I'm not saying I can put the 2 next to each other and say, "Yeah, see, it picks up where that one." No, but it reminded me enough of As Gomorrah Burns for me to be able to confidently say I liked it. But if nothing else, I could say that I will listen to it. Now that it's out, I'll certainly listen to it. But again, I just didn't list it because I hadn't yet. Everything I've listed, I've listened to, and I would say that the 7 that I'm really excited about that have come out so far, I've listened to them a bunch. And that's only, in fairness though, it's because there's a handful of records that came out this year I've listened to a lot, but because I have been listening to those a lot more than other stuff. So it's you know what I mean? It's more like I just haven't been listening to a lot of other stuff, which is partly just why. So I will throw the big one. When I say the big, I don't. I had to pick what my favorite album of the year is so far. I think I know what my favorite record would be.
Me too.
I think, but mind you, that is without actually putting any thought. That's without. When I do my top 10 every year, I always go back and I listen to them again because sometimes I'm like, I hear a record and I really like it, but it's a little different when you put it next to other ones that you like. This is not. the one I'm about to say is it's not my favorite album of the year, but I will gladly say in my little part of the world, it's the most important record of the year, or it's the biggest album of the year. And that's the new Dream Theater record called Parasomnia. This one, well, it's super important to me. I absolutely, well, and actually, again, I don't want to go down this road too much because, in fact, I don't want to go down the road. You and I have talked about it before, but I have always gone on record and say, not only is there no requirement to saying you're a fan of a band, it is okay to be a huge fan of a band and not like everything they've ever put out. I say this all the time. You're allowed to not like something by a band. Like, here, I'll give you a great example. You are not required to like Saint Anger because you're a Metallica fan. You're not required to like anything by a band. I can, without a doubt, say that I was a borderline obsessive fan of Dream Theater in the 90s. They were one of the most important bands to me in the 90s, especially late 90s when I was, and when I was in high school. There were very few bands more important to me than Dream Theater back then. Images and Words to this day is in my top 5 all-time favorite albums. I really love their first album, When Day and Dream Unite. And then Images and Words and Awake and A Change of Seasons. Those 4 albums, I don't know, Change of Seasons is an EP, whatever. Just incredibly important albums to me. I never liked Falling into Infinity. It never did anything for me. Metropolis Part 2, come out in, I think, 99. I very much like that album. But I have also kind of always maintained that once Jordan Rudess joined the band, they kind of lost me. And that is partly because of Jordan Rudess, and maybe partly it isn't. And what I mean by that is Jordan I don't know how much that Jordan wrote music for them that made them way more complicated, or how much of it was Jordan gave them the ability to write way more complicated music because they had a keyboardist who could do it. I don't know. Regardless, and look, he played on Metropolis Part 2, but let's be clear, it was written before he joined the band. Or at least a half an hour or something out of it was. It was like this giant thing. It doesn't matter. Dream Theater, despite my absolute love for that band, they lost me. I like Metropolis Part 2. I do. But, man, I can go back and look at anything Dream Theater did, in the aughts all the way through. I mean, I look at it and go, okay, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. I mean, The Glass Prison's okay, but I look at Train of Thought, and look, I know The Honor Thy Father is like a big song for drummers. It's the song he ripped off Mickey D. Well, he admittedly ripped off Mickey D. But I look at that album and I'm like, I think As I Am is one of the best songs they ever wrote. But as I'm looking through their records, I'm like, Systematic Chaos has the song Constant Motion. Black Clouds, A Nightmare. But again, Wither is probably the only one I really like. When I look at those, it's like one of my the point I'm getting at is one of my favorite bands in the 90s. And starting with 2002, there's maybe 5 songs of theirs that I liked or cared about. And then they hired Mike Mangini and wrote a whole grand pile of nothing that I cared about. And it's not that it wasn't good. It stopped being for me. It just did. It got more and more complex, less melodic, and less interesting to me. Fast forward to now, they fire Mike Mangini, which sucks because he's an amazing drummer, and but hey, when you replace an original member and the original member is still alive, I'm sorry, but there's always that chance. So anyway, fast forward to now. Enough about the old stuff. Parasomnia comes out. Mike Portnoy's back. And Parasomnia, to me, is their first album that sounds like Dream Theater since, I don't know. It's got a lot of... I'll put it this way. If you like the song As I Am, which, what was that, 2003? Okay. If you like the song As I Am, you'll like this record. It's more approachable. It's not as complicated. The band even said they took a little bit of a step back in complexity. But having Mike Portnoy back in the band made Dream Theater sound and feel like Dream Theater again. So much of that band's sound is rooted in the relationship between him and John Petrucci. I said this when John Petrucci's solo record came out a couple years ago. I said it on the show. I'm like, this sounds like old Dream Theater. And because Mike Portnoy played it on it, I'm like, and this gives me hope that he'll go back to Dream Theater and it'll sound like them again. And this album really does. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Sorry that I even took that much time on it. But this is truly the most important or biggest release of the year in my world. And I will also gladly say, back in 1997, if I would talk about a new Dream Theater record being important, I feel like it would have been important to me, and I wouldn't have known anybody else who would have cared that much. Now, I am certainly not alone. Dream Theater as a big band. They've the modern generation likes them. And I'm not alone. I think across the board in the world of Dream Theater, this is a huge record for everybody. I saw them in Rochester, and albeit it wasn't a huge venue, it was a theater. It was sold out well in advance. It's not Metallica selling out a stadium, but it's a prog band like Dream Theater who's able to sell a play. I mean, it was pretty awesome. So again, great album. I would say, like in Rex's case, look, I know you like Images and Words and Awake and cool. I could easily say to Rex, look, I know you're not a big Dream Theater guy, but but you would like this album a hell of a lot more than you would like anything else they've done in the last 20 years. 25 probably. And I really do feel that way. I mean, Night Terror was the first single. I think it kind of solidified where this record's going to be. So anyway, enough about it. It's probably not my favorite album of the year, only because I know which one is so far, but easily the most important. This was the one that when I found out it was coming out, I went, you know what? It's that meme. There's a meme that Rex and I both use in many situations because it's just appropriate. But when I heard that when I heard that record was coming out, and when I heard the first single, Night Terror, one meme described my reaction. It's that meme that says, "My penis can only get so erect." If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is a meme.
It's from the show Archer.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I feel about this record. Enough about it. Sorry if I went on too long. Dream Theater Parasomnia is amazing.
That's okay. I was shopping.
It's amazing.
I was shopping.
Oh, good. Good. I'm hoping you were drinking as well.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to talk about. I'm avoiding talking about one of these. I'm going to talk. Okay, you know what?
Should.
I'm actually.
I don't know what you're avoiding, but
I am going to talk about Ghost's new album. Now, I don't want anybody in here to start giving me crap. Well, you talked about Dream Theater to the point of where I was dozing off. So
I know, that's why I said go for it, man. I know you like this record. I know you like this album a lot. You mentioned last week you really do.
Yeah.
So
well, and because I talked about it so much last week, I'm not going to drone on about it again this week. But I will say, this album for me reawakened my interest in Ghost. Up until this point, I was kind of like, maybe I'm kind of. Again, maybe they're going beyond where I can follow them, and and again, it's not me saying they suck or me saying they're terrible or they're not metal or anything. I don't care about that. It's just me saying, sometimes bands take turns where you're like, I like their old stuff. Where they're going now, I don't have a problem with it, but it's not my thing.
Dude, literally just kind of said that about Dream Theater. I don't think they ever got not good. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, so, it was Imperia. I was kind of like, it's all right. I know people like and I know your opinion about Spillways. I know people ate that up. I know people, ate up all the Call Me Mr. Sunshine, Little Sunshine, Call Me Little Sunshine, and Hunter's Moon, all that stuff, fine. But I was thinking to myself, like, am I buying these albums because I genuinely like Ghost, or am I buying these albums out of habit? Like, oh, Ghost released a new album, guess I gotta get it. But Skeletor, when I listened to it and I heard the first single, I was like, okay, and I heard the second single, and I'm blanking on the singles' names partially because of the whiskey, and partially because they have weird Latin names. And I'm gonna cheat and look it up right now.
Latin. Sorry, I have this
Latin. You say Latin. You say. I heard Lacrima, and Satanized, and that Lacrima song. People are gonna be like, no, oh my god, it's Lacrima. How do you not know that and call yourself a fan? I don't care. I really don't care. I'm a big fan of the English language. I just really don't care about other ones. You can say what you want about me. Yeah.
But if I mispronounce something in another language, sorry.
And Peacefield's cool.
But look, our listeners, we don't have enough listeners that listen in English, let alone.
I'm going to actually challenge. I am going to actually challenge you, Duff. Okay. Listen to the riff.
I have heard a song. But I have heard it.
No. That not Satanized. That's the song that was like the big single off the album so far. It's the second track now. I'm not sure if that's the one you've heard. Listen to the riff. I know you don't like.
Yeah, I know.
Tobias Forge's voice.
I literally did after last episode. I messaged you and said I almost made it 13 seconds into the song. But no. It's not for me.
No.
But I heard the riff and went. Hold on. I heard the riff and said I can see why you liked it.
No, but
is what I mean.
And that's the thing.
The riff didn't do anything for me either.
Well, okay.
Even just the riff didn't do anything, but it's just me. It's just the band does nothing for me.
I know, but
that's just the band does nothing for me.
And that's the thing. I was not trying to convince you to become a Ghost fan. I mean, really and truthfully,
I know.
I know you well enough to know you to say that even if Ghost released a song or an album that made you whip your Skippy, you'd be too proud to admit it. I genuinely.
I don't. No,
after all of the grief there has been one time I have ever seen you completely do a 180 on a band, and that was with Andrew WK. Me and Vinny.
Oh yeah,
loved Andrew WK. We loved Andrew WK. We thought we were obsessed with it. You were like, oh, this is so, and I'm not criticizing you. It's a funny story. You're, oh, this is so stupid. How do you guys like this? This is so dumb. Like, it's just a guy going, and it sounds like stupid music. And I'm like, do you know who their drummer is? And you're like, who? And I'm like, DT. And you're like, well, so what? Who's that? And I'm like, Don Tardy. And you're like, this isn't so bad.
well, because admittedly, I listened to it Because I listened to it with a different set of ears. I listened to it going, oh, well, I guess I should actually pay attention to it.
No, I know, but it was just funny.
That happens, dude, I know.
It was hilarious. DT. Who the hell is DT? Don Tardy. This ain't so bad. It was literally like I flipped a switch in your brain and you were like, okay, well, Don Tardy's on it. I guess it can't suck. And I will admit, it's
not so bad.
That's happened to me before too, where I'm like, oh, this song's not that great. Oh, well, this guitar player's playing on it. I can see why people like this. You know what I mean? Like, it happens.
Well, no, I mean, and actually, there is another record on this list that I can say that I'll say the same thing with you about, which is kind of cool. And again, we're not busting balls. It's because this is what happens.
No, it is.
But I did say, I did say this, by the way, when you first mentioned the new Ghost album. I even said to you, I was like, I'm gonna listen to it, and. You're like, well, if you already don't like Ghost, this isn't going to talk you into it. I said, well, but I'm going to listen to it, and I'll tell you why. I listened to it for two reasons. One, they are an important enough band that I don't want, that I want to at least be, I want to have an opinion on it. And I don't want my opinion to be Ghost sucks. I would rather go, I think it sucks, from a place of I've heard it, as opposed to I don't need to hear it because I think it's going to suck. I listened to the last Tool record. I did not listen to a lot of it. I listened to some of it. I listened long enough to go, okay, still not for me. But actually, I will be honest with you. And I'm agreeing with you, but I'm also going to contradict you. It's going to sound weird, but this album and the one before it, I have gone into the record genuinely saying I don't actually, like, I guess I'm saying, like, I don't question the band. I always go into Ghost saying, am I just not getting something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you've done this before. But I feel as if something is just not clicking. It's like, I feel like I'm missing something. So I listen to it and I'm like, this has got to be, like, I can't listen to it and go, I like this. And I can't listen to it and say, like I said, I heard that Dance Macabre song and I went, why would anybody like this? Again, I'm not judging people who do. I'm saying that's the way my brain is processing it. I don't understand why someone would like hard-boiled eggs. They're rubbery and smell bad. And I think if of all the things you can do with an egg, turning it into smelly rubber doesn't make any sense. But I'm kind of jealous of people who like egg salad. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but like deviled eggs look really good, but they just gross me out. I kind of feel that way about Ghost. Like, I listen to them and go, like, I don't know. I almost feel like one of these days they're going to write a song and I'm going to just like it. And then maybe if I like that, everything, because this has happened to you, it's happened to me. You hear something and then all of a sudden, again, a random example, you were never into King Diamond, and actually this is not a weird correlation.
Although
King Diamond's got a weird voice too.
The difference is, though, I never said he sucked. Like,
no, I know.
There were times when I was not into Dio. There were times when I was not into King Diamond. At no point ever did I ever say they sucked, though. Like that's where I do draw the line.
I think I don't like Ghost, and I gladly bust people's balls by saying they suck. I actually don't think they suck, albeit some of it I would objectively say is kind of terrible. But that's very little of it. Like, I thought that one song, Stairwells or whatever, is terrible, and I think Dance Macabre is terrible. I think everything else of theirs is just like, it's just not for me. But what I'm getting at is, I didn't say you thought it was terrible. I'm just saying, I'm kind of hoping to have that King Diamond experience. And I use King Diamond as an example because he also has a weird voice. He also has, there's similarities between the two. I do. So anyway, I did go into that song kind of hoping I would like it. I agree with you that it could be a mental block thing. It's very possible. It's also possible that I'll never like them. I don't know. But I did. I know I really did. I really went into it going, maybe this riff will catch me. Just because I don't like the song Square Hammer, this doesn't sound like Square Hammer. You can tell it's the same band, but it's not like they just put that same song out again. But yeah, I don't know. I tried. I do. I really do. I go in hoping I'll like it every time. And I can't. But again, I live and die by this. If we all liked the same records, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
What is the point in listening to music if we all just like the same thing? And I don't mean because that's not like an anti-conformity thing. That's not being a rebel thing. That's not being a cool thing. That's saying everything is awesome. If we all like if our favorite song is all the same song, then it's probably none of our favorite song. Right? Because there is no way in hell we are all going to like all of the same albums. Or there's no way we're all going to prefer things. I mean, it's just going to happen. Hey, look, I love Dream Theater, and I just said there's albums by them I don't like. I think that's a healthy thing. I think if you like metal and you don't like Ghost, or you do like Ghost, or you like Metallica or don't, or you like Slayer or don't, you like Pantera or don't, I think that means, I don't know, to me that I feel like that means you're thinking, that means you actually have an opinion. And in 2025, in the world of social media, having an actual opinion that you formulated on your own is a good thing. And if you do, I congratulate you. The only weird thing I'll say about Ghost, it's one of those rare situations where it would make way more sense if I liked them than you did.
I don't know about that. I don't know if
There's a couple of bands out there that I'm thinking, I'm like, what's that?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, I don't.
I couldn't see you like. I genuinely. The reason why I don't give you such a hard time over him is I genuinely don't think I could see you ever liking this band.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see you liking them.
I mean, I agree with you
from a performance standpoint, like, because again,
sure.
You know, they're theatrical, which I could see you digging. Musically, though, like they're you know, and the reason I say that is because they're a little bit more, and not that I'm into. I mean, funny side story. They've covered ABBA before, and generally, whenever people bring up,
which I like,
well, I do too. But that's where there's a funny story. Is they're compared to ABBA, like they're Swedish. You know, they kind of have that poppy sensibility to them or whatever. Every single time I think of that, though, you know what song gets stuck in my head? Super Trooper, Super Trooper. Like, I don't know why. I just love that freaking song. Super Trooper. And I think of the music video where the two guys.
And I've said this before, though. I was going to say, I've said this before, though. The problem with ABBA is all of their songs, every song they've ever written will get stuck in your head if you ever hear it.
Well, but Super Trooper particularly.
I think that band has the longest list of songs that'll get stuck in your head.
I always think of the music video because the guy with the beard is sitting behind the piano playing, and he's got this giant, like, ass-eating grin on his face, and he's going, Super-pa, Troopa-pa. And it's just hilarious to me. I don't know why. But, no, that's the funny thing, too. Like, it's interesting how a lot of bands like Ghost people will like for instance, we talked about this before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. If a metalhead was to say, like, dude, I'm a big ABBA fan, and it's funny because I actually just saw somebody talking about this in a Battle Vest group where they're like, oh, I don't understand why you would ever put anything on your vest that's not metal bands. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's the whole point. Like, every band out there has been influenced by bands that aren't what they think they are. Like Anthrax, for instance, they're huge Kiss fans. Like, Charlie has one of the most eclectic music interests I've ever seen in my life. Like, the guy listens to everything. I mean, a lot of these musicians, I think it would blow people's minds. Yes, there are some musicians, particularly in the deep, deep underground, who, if the guy doesn't growl, I can't listen to it. Okay, fine. But on the other hand, I think people's minds would be completely blown if they honestly think, if they sit there and think, oh, I like this band, therefore they must only listen to music that sounds like them. I think their minds would be completely and utterly blown to find out what some of these bands' favorite albums are, favorite bands are, or even albums they appreciate. Ghost has covered so many.
I mean, I don't sit around and listen to ABBA all day.
No, I don't either.
That being said, there are probably more songs by ABBA that I like than, you know how many metal bands don't have as many songs I like as ABBA does? Because ABBA doesn't know how to write a song that isn't amazing.
Dude,
it should have been Led Zeppelin doesn't write tunes that everybody liked. They should have said it. They left that up to ABBA, not the Bee Gees.
I'm going to tell you what. I go to the thrift store all the time and look at their CDs. Why? Because CDs are like $2 a pop. I just got a brand new CD deck from 1989. Thing plays like it was built yesterday. Knock on wood. For my stereo. So, of course, I'm going to go, records are like $30-$40 a pop. I'm not going to spend $30-$40 on a band that I might listen to twice a year, once a year. Plus, when I'm in the backyard, I love popping into greatest hits. I will literally go through some of the greatest hits I've bought at the thrift store lately and tell you, I will tell you every embarrassing detail. I have the Police, the singles. I have Meatloaf Live.
Well, there's nothing embarrassing about that, but
no. Well, I'm not even saying any of these are embarrassing. Simon and Garfunkel's greatest hits, Tom Petty's greatest hits. I'm
a huge Tom Petty fan.
Ripped to shreds in here. Heart's greatest hits, Cars' greatest hits.
Big fan of Heart.
Bangles' greatest hits.
Big fan of the Cars.
Pat Benatar's best shots. The Go-Go's greatest hits. Like, I don't care. Like, I love some of the Go-Go's. Vacation is a catchy song. Vacation, have to get away. Vacation. I love that song. They did We Got the Beat. We Got the Beat. If you ever watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I think that's like the very first song. Tell me that's not a catchy song. In Excess's greatest hits. I mean, I have Kate Bush's Hounds of Love.
I love In Excess.
Dude, Depeche Mode.
Hold on.
I'm a massive.
You got to make this. We got to make this clear, though. There are two reasons to love In Excess. One is their bass player. If you ever watch their bass player, he does that cool like little bass player bob when he's playing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you just gotta watch.
He's not as cool as the bass player from Toto who plays his bass up by his neck.
No, it's very true. And then the second, is Michael Hutchence. He might have died young, but he went out.
He went out swinging.
If you're gonna go out. He went out swinging. You got to give the man credit. And SOD wrote a song about him, right? The Ballad of Michael Hutchins.
You did.
If I'm not mistaken, is on Bigger Than the Devil. But anyway, and NXS had their own reality show for a while, and Dave Navarro was on it. I mean, it's and then they went through this entire reality show to find a new singer, and at the end of it, they picked the guy who sounded like Michael Hutchins.
Gonna take love me to drag away from you. Sorry, I was looking at a picture of the guy from Toto. No, but I mean, that's what I'm talking about. So, I went off on a tangent now on Ghost.
I have a bunch of Toto on vinyl, by the way.
I have 2. I have 4, and I have the one with Hold the Line on it. I forget the name.
Because that's the best song they ever wrote.
It's the best song they ever wrote. Anybody who says Africa is the best song they ever wrote is wrong. Everybody that says Rosanna is the best song they ever wrote is wrong.
Though Rosanna is kind of the that is the signature Jeff Porcaro drum part. The little drum lick to that. And I say this just as a weird, I know no one cares. But it's those little nuances that musicians sometimes pick up on that when anybody else listens to Rosanna, they wouldn't care. And it doesn't even sound complicated, but the Rosanna shuffle that he does, that Jeff Porcaro, who's no longer with us, and the nerdiest looking dude ever. Just look up Jeff Porcaro. He was like the nerdiest looking dude ever. But again, it was just that the drumming in Rosanna is amazing. Anyway, but no, I love ABBA. I do. And there's a lot of bands like that out.
My whole point, though, and again, is not to talk about ABBA or all the bands that I like that aren't metal. It's to talk about, like, again, it's okay. Even if you don't consider Ghost metal, fine. It's okay to like them. It's okay to like their influence. Dude, the Genesis cover they did to Jesus He Knows Me is amazing. I love that track. My nephew's obsessed with Genesis and Phil Collins. And I love it. I'm here for it. Like the kid will listen to Cannibal Corpse, and then he'll put on No Jacket Required, and I'll be like, "That I'm here for it, dude." Like I have No Jacket Required on vinyl.
I will say this: there's a lot of bands that, and I'll even say this about Ghost. I don't like them, and it has nothing to do with whether the fact that they're metal or not. There's plenty of metal bands I don't like, and plenty of bands I do like that aren't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I do enjoy busting balls of people who like Ghost, but that's just because I enjoy busting people's balls.
You do.
I break people's balls. That's what I do.
You break balls.
And I don't throw a chair across the room like Paulie or anything. But
effing
when I hear them, but I don't know. Anyway, we have successfully gotten through 3 records. Again, partly my fault for Dream Theater and partly your fault for Ghost. We should.
It's funny because most of my tangent wasn't even about the band. So
no, I know. Regardless, it's that time. No, there's okay, so a couple other ones that I really like. The band The Halo Effect put out a new record. It's called March of the Unheard. If you don't know who Halo Effect is, it is basically I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It's Michael Stahn, or however you say his last name, from Dark Tranquillity, and all of the guys who used to be in Flames and think they suck now. Really. It was all the guys from In Flames, and when I say all, let me look it up. Halo Effect band, I'm looking up their lineup. Basically, it is, let's see, Peter. He might not have been, but it's a bunch of guys that were in Flames, that just kind of got fed up with not being metal anymore. Jesper, guitar player, excuse me, guitar player in Flames that had been in Flames literally on Lunar Strain, Jester Race, Horacle, Colony, Clayman. He had been on all of those. On just a lot of stuff. And they're just kind of at the point of they're not in Flames anymore. And, these were guys that got fed up with In Flames being what they were. And Michael, who is the vocalist of the band, who's also in Dark Tranquillity, the interesting thing about them is the Michael Stahn from Dark Tranquillity was the original vocalist for In Flames. And Anders, who was the vocalist for In Flames, was the original vocalist for Dark Tranquillity. Or maybe they weren't vocals, but they were both in the other bands, and then they switched, and that's kind of where it came from. Anyway, point I'm getting at is In Flames is mostly all new guys, and Halo Machine is mostly guys that used to be in Flames. So what's cool about them is they have a little bit of Dark Tranquillity in their sound. They have a little bit of that classic In Flames sound to it. I guess what I'm saying is if you like a record like Clayman, I don't think it sounds like Clayman because it doesn't sound like Clayman, but the connective tissue is there. It doesn't sound like modern In Flames. So I guess I would say if you were a fan of older In Flames and you're like me to think that anything after Clayman is trash, then this might be the band for you. I love this band. I think Halo Effect is one of my favorite new bands. In fact, I thank Kevin for telling me about them anyway. What was interesting is last year, my top two favorite albums were the album by Cemetery Skyline and the album by Dark Tranquillity, which are both the two bands by Michael. And then Halo Effect came out in something like January or February of this year. In other words, in the span of something like 6 months, all three bands he's in put out a new album. And had the new Halo Effect record come out at the end of last year, it would have been my number 3. Like, quite literally, my top 3 albums of last year would have all been Michael Stahn albums. So I'm kind of glad it came out this year and not last year. It's a shoe-in for probably top 3 this year. Utterly incredible. If you have not heard this album, Halo Effect's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I will say I'm a bigger fan of Dark Tranquillity, and Cemetery Skyline I like more than the other two, but they're more like old Paradise Lost. But yeah, check out the new Halo Effect, man. Anybody who hasn't heard it, I'm telling you, throw this damn record on. It is catchy. It's heavy. It's very melodic, Swedish. It's great. It's great stuff. So yeah, Halo Effect, March of the Unheard, easily a shoe-in for one of my top albums of the year. Like easily, well, it'll be top 10 for sure. I cannot see there being 7 records. It would, because I'm guessing Dream Theater will be top 3, and I'm pretty sure I know which one's going to be my number 1, again, if I'm judging it off of today. I can't imagine there's enough amazing records that are so good that this would get kicked off a top 10. But anyway, Halo Effect, March of the Unheard. Give it a listen. It's good. It'll make you feel better inside.
All right.
I think.
Okay.
All right, go for it.
I want to make sure I talk about this one, and just in case I run.
Yeah, I got a couple I want to talk about too. So go ahead.
I'm going to talk about a band from Italy called Game Over. The album is called Face the End. I got to be honest with you.
I remember you talking about it. I keep forgetting to listen to it, so I need to put this on my.
It's Game Over was a typical.
Are they the band that used to be Pizza Metal and aren't anymore?
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Okay,
they are kind of they were kind of Pizza Metal. Like Burst Into the Quiet is first of all, you'd love the album cover. I love the album cover, but it doesn't kinda. It's got a mostly naked woman on the cover, so that's usually enough for you.
Well, here, let me say this: having boobs is fine as long as they're not kind of boobs.
Okay.
Like if they're legit boobs, but you can't see it all, that's fine. If you can see it all, but they're not really boobs, then it's boring. Anyway, go on.
Here, I'll send you a picture. There you go. It's a painting.
Yeah, that works. See, no. See, you can't see it all, but you know that there's a decent pair there. That's what I meant. So that's cool.
So I love the album cover. Conceptually, it's a great album cover, but that's not the album I'm talking about. The album I'm talking about is Face the End. Game Over, I like them. I have all of their albums. I have all their albums on vinyl. I bought them all. I tried to keep up with them. I did miss their last album. They snuck past me. They're before this one. The one before this one. But Face the End was one of those albums where I put it on expecting typical pizza thrash. And when I read about this album, they had said they're going in not a different direction. So they didn't mean that they were abandoning like the whole thrash thing, abandoning that. But they were kind of not going in the party pizza thrash, whatever. And I think they got rid of their bass player / vocalist, I think. But when I listened to this album, it was kind of one of those things where you ever listen to a band and you're kind of like, hey, they grew up. And of course, these are all adults, but I mean, kind of like they went in a direct. When they say whenever a band says we're going in a new direction, you immediately think to yourself, "Oh my God, what does this mean? Like, are they going to suddenly be like In Flames, where they're like, oh yeah, we're going in a different direction. We're now Korn, we're now whatever." But I have to admit, this songwriting is much more mature, and not that pizza thrash is not mature, not that I don't love that stuff. I love Municipal Waste, I love the new school thrash stuff, so I love the party beer, we love beer drinking, everything else. I love that stuff, so don't
well, look at Exodus.
Yeah, but I mean,
Exodus kind of started that way, and they stopped being that way eventually. It happens.
But that's what I mean. So I'm not saying, Municipal Waste is a bunch of crappy. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this album kind of took a different direction, and I'm a huge fan of it. So, I don't know when I recommend this album to you, and I really think you should listen to it, I'm not saying that this is going to make you go.
Just haven't yet.
Right. I'm saying I'm not saying that this is going to make you go, oh my God, this is the best band ever. I honestly don't know what your opinion of this is going to be. I really like listening to it. I put it on the other night.
Adding it to my iTunes now.
I put it on a few weeks ago, actually, at this point, and I'm listening to it. And the album before this as well, but particularly, we're here to talk about Face the End, and I literally thought, wow, this is not what I was expecting. This is way cooler. They had some slower songs, so everything wasn't how fast can we play, how much thrash can we pack into an album. It was, like I said, I don't know any other word to describe it than mature. And again, I'm not saying that Municipal Waste and all those other bands are like Kitty, whatever. No, I'm just saying maybe Iced Earth would be a good comparison. When they released their first album and Storm Rider, they were a thrash band for the most part. And then they started kind of saying to themselves, John started saying to, and I don't want to turn this into a conversation about Iced Earth, I'm just using them as an example. They said to themselves, hey, we can still be a good band and still write fast stuff, but we don't always have to write fast stuff. And we can write some songs that kind of breathe a little bit. It's not always about how fast can I pick the E string or how many power chords can I shove in here. It's okay to let an E power chord ring out while we, do other things. So I kind of get the feeling like that's what they tried to do on this album. I will, like you said about the Halo Effect album, I would be surprised if this album was not in my top 10 of the year. Some crazy, awesome stuff is going to have to come out to bump this, which is funny because their album 2 albums ago, I was like, yeah, they're cool. Yeah, they're cool. And that's kind of my feeling. Like, yeah, Game Over, they're fun to listen to. Burst Into the Quiet, I love that song. Crime Against Humanity, I love that song. Like their old stuff I like. It was fun to listen to. This, I feel like, is one of those albums where I'm actually going to go back to it and not listen to it only because it's fun, but just it's genuinely good music. So Game Over, Face the End, I recommend that. If you're into the whole thrash thing, and again, it's not just pizza thrash, it's not party thrash, it's pretty good songwriting, so check it out.
Well, I guess I should just go because I didn't really want to talk about it as much, but I guess I've teased it a few times. You said a little earlier, with Ghost, you're like, do I still like this or did I just get it out of habit? And I deal with that with a lot of bands. Some bands are just like, look, I know I like them. I'm, whatever. But sometimes there are bands that they put out new records and I seem to always love them, that sometimes I wonder, it's like, man, am I just liking this because of who it is or what? And then sometimes, I got to tell you, I try, man. I try to make my top 10 different every year. And I'm excited last year that there were a bunch of bands on my top 10 that had never been on my top 10 before. Well, Cemetery Skyline didn't have an album out before that, but like Dark Tranquillity had never been on a top 10. But there's some bands that, damn it, they put out a freaking record, and when they're good, they're good, and when they're good, it's kind of a damn shoe-in. And I can tell you, without question, as of today, now look, this could change. There could be other records that have already come out that are on my list. Hey, maybe I listen to the new Dream Theater record again tomorrow, and all of a sudden, that's my favorite album of the year. These things change. But if I had to do my favorite album of the year up until this point, I'm sorry to all of our listeners, the ridiculous level of how typical of an answer this is for me. But The Screaming of the Valkyries by Cradle of Filth is obnoxious. It's so good, I almost hate how good it is. It's not that I want Cradle of Filth to not put out a great album, but I want somebody else to put out a record better than a new Cradle of Filth album, and it's hard, man, because this album, and I know it's on your list, but I don't think I think you said you hadn't really listened. Have you listened to this yet, or not? Or like,
no, it's in my queue still.
I don't remember if you listened to it.
I listened to a track or two, but it's still in my queue.
I mean, I know I'm the bigger Cradle of Filth fan. Like, I know that. But this record is, it's so freaking good. It's they've only ever put out one record I don't like and one I find kind of weak. Darkly is the one I don't like, and Godspeed is the other one I don't really listen to. I don't really hate it, but it's the other one I don't listen to. Pretty much, Cradle of Filth has a 30-year career of music I love. I don't know what the hell they've been doing for the last, let's see, 2012, 2011. I'm going to look right now. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, since 2012. Wow, I'm good. Pretty much, they did Darkly in 2010. I wasn't into it. And I really wasn't a big fan of Godspeed. Then 2012 comes out. They put out Manticore and the Other Horrors. Then Hammer the Witches. then Cryptoriana, then Existence is Futile from 2021, then Trouble in Their Double Lives, which was live but had a couple of studio tracks, and then The Screaming of the Valkyries. Those are back-to-back, wall-to-wall. I don't know how they're that good. Though I don't know. Are they going to start sucking now? I don't know if you heard what happened with Cradle of Filth.
I did not.
Did you hear, like, the... You know, they just, like... Something really bad just happened to them. Did you hear about this?
No.
No, there's, like, major tragedy in the world of Cradle of Filth. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, no, seriously, Danny Filth, like, he proposed. Poor guy.
No.
Like, the fact that their blonde keyboardist singer girl, who I'm sorry, I don't know her name, and I should, is, like, engaged to or married to the Pinhead dude. The guy in I can never remember his name. The guy in Cradle of Filth that, draws the Pinhead lines on his head. They're engaged or married, but that's cool. But yeah, dude, Danny Filth is gonna like I know you would think, like, with the music that he writes, he's the kind of guy that, he's into the macabre, he's into, but yeah, I don't know, man. There's just some things you don't wish upon your worst enemy. But
dude must be.
So I'm just assuming Cradle of Filth.
Dude must be a masochist.
I mean, yeah, but even to that level, I don't. Well, all I'm saying is this, folks. If there's never another good Cradle of Filth album, at least we know why.
Truthfully, though,
but seriously, Screaming of the Valkyries is amazing.
It's entirely possible that there will be many more great Cradle of Filth albums because of this.
It's also they might tour a lot more. He might be like, "Oh my God, keep me away from her." I don't know. I'm all joking aside, I'm happy for the guy if that's what he's into. But yeah, man.
Dude, marriage
song
is
Non-Omnis
Moriar. Countries.
The song Non-Omnis Moriar, the song You Are My Nautilus, the song Malignant Perfection, To Live Deliciously. Dude, there are so many good songs on this record. This is a wall-to-wall. How the hell is this good? And do you want to know what, though? There's one really weird thing about this album.
What is that?
There are two things you expect out of Cradle of Filth, and one of them is not on this record. One of the things you expect out of Cradle of Filth is boobs on the cover somewhere.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that.
Yes, it does have a boob.
A single one.
So that's there. Well, yeah, but then still in the album, in the rest of the booklet, there are boobs, so you don't have to worry about that. The first track on this album is a song. The first track on this album is an actual song. The song "To Live Deliciously," which I believe was the first single, is the first track. There is no lead-in track to this album. One of those things that Cradle of Filth does is they put a track at the beginning of their records that are a minute or 2 minutes long that set the tone for the record. That is not on here. It's very weird. There is not a lead-in track to the album. I gotta say, as dumb as that sounds, I kind of don't know how to feel about that. It kind of weirded me out. I typically skip those. I really do. I normally skip those. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's part of who they are. And it's kind of weird to me that it's not there. But anyway, I am absolutely and utterly in love with this album. It's my favorite record of the year so far, despite the weird lack of a lead-in song. Anyway, continue, sir, with whatever you might have.
So sorry to interrupt. Continue. Billy Madison. So sorry to interrupt. Continue. Well, I guess I'm going to bring up the other album, Scour. So Phil Anselmo's side project.
Continue.
I think it's got a couple. I was
going to mention something about this, so go ahead.
I think it's got a guy from Cattle Decapitation, some other bands in there. I didn't actually look at the list, but I found Scour after I found the song on YouTube, and then you sent it to me shortly after, and then I didn't realize Scour had existed, because the problem with Phil Anselmo is he's in like 75 bands. He's in Superjoint Ritual, he's in Down, he's in Scour, he's in Pantera, the guy does not rest. Like, literally, I feel like he's like, I've got a day off, let's form a band. I think that's literally how he works. Anyways, more power to him. But so Scour is a new discovery for me. I know they've been around for a while. They released 3 EPs. I managed to track them all down, got those EPs. This is their first full-length Gold. All their EPs are named after colors. There's, I think, the black EP, the red EP, and the gray EP, and then now there's the Gold album. Scour is really cool. I like this band. There's a lot of interludes. I got to be honest with you. I kind of find the interludes annoying, from the standpoint of when you're listening to the album, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit, but I get it. It's how they want to present their art. I'm fine with that. But when they're on, they're on. So I really liked Scour Gold. I think I actually like the previous EPs a little bit better. That's not to say that they are better. I think I like the old EPs better. I don't know. Maybe I think Scour is one of those bands that are short and sweet is kind of what they need to be. I think maybe they could have done 2 more EPs instead of a full-length album. I guess you could technically twist my arm and say, well, just listen to one side of the record then, and then it's the same thing. Sure, fine, whatever. I enjoyed Scour. It might make my top 10. It might crack my top 10. I think it's a little too early to tell. But I really like what's going on. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, who's the singer? I had no clue it was Phil. I listened to it. I thought that was cool. Then you sent it to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I heard this. And you're like, did you pay attention to who the singer was? And I'm like, no, I put the video on YouTube, and I kind of went back to work, and I just listened to it. I didn't watch the video. And you're like, look who the singer is. And I was like, wow. Like, I couldn't believe it was Phil. Again, I don't want to turn this into another Phil Anselmo Pantera discussion, but I really genuinely think Phil is just underrated. So, again, Scour, good band, good album. It's cool. You wanted to say something about it.
I think Phil is underrated outside of Pantera. And what I mean by that is, it's kind of hard to say that a member of Pantera is underrated. I think he is underrated in his ability to not just be the guy in Pantera.
That's what I mean. His Pantera style.
Enough people don't recognize that he is way more talented or way more determined than just the dude in that band. It's kind of it's wild. It's really wild how just talented that dude is. To the point where it's almost weird. It's really almost weird. Gotta say.
Kind of weird, man.
Kind of weird, man.
What's kind of weird is how you're kind of going, yeah, he's just so determined and so talented, and
actually, I was reading something.
That's what's getting weird when you're like, yeah, man. Let me just tell you about Phil a little bit here, man. I starting to sound like Vinny there, man.
I was gonna say I'm almost starting to sound like Phil. In an interview, he does that too.
Girlfriend.
But no, that was I was trailing off there. I was
your girlfriend last night.
After girlfriend last night.
Love.
Anyway, yeah, no, this is on my list of. I listened to it and I think it's cool. It's not on my list of favorites for no reason other than I'm not a huge fan of the record. Only because but it's really freaking good. It's a really freaking good album. I think there's no two ways about it. Stylistically, not a record that's gonna be something I listen to all the time, but it is absolutely a record that is worth the listen, I would say. Yeah. So no, I'm glad you mentioned that one. How many? What is it? Like 4 or 5 songs? It's an EP, right?
Which one? Scour?
No,
it's a full length.
Is it?
Yes, it's their first full length. Their previous 3.
Okay. Then okay. Well, I'm not crazy when I was thinking their stuff was shorter than that. Yeah. Okay. So a record actually that I just recently heard for the first time. Because it happens where you see we talked about this too. You see something on YouTube and you go, oh yeah, okay. And then you completely forget that it came out. So, I will not spend a lot of time on it because we are already running out of time, but there is a new album by the band Epica, and the album is called Aspiral. And I like Epica. I like Epica because I like Camelot. I mean, I don't know how to better say it. They sound like Camelot. They're named after a Camelot record. I don't mean they share the same name. I mean they are named after the band.
Band name.
If I am not mistaken, Simone Simons, the singer of Epica, is married to one of the guys in Camelot. I'm pretty sure. That being said, I like Epica. I like all of their albums. The Phantom Agony. I've got a few on vinyl, and I love this band. This album was, man, it's freaking really good. I mean, it's really, really good. If you don't like Epica because you don't like bands with operatic female singers, if you don't like a band like Nightwish, you're probably not going to like it. But musically, it's going to sound like Camelot with Nightwish vocals. I mean, I don't know how to better describe it, but that's kind of what you're going to get. But, dude, this album is really freaking good. This is my favorite album of theirs in a while. They have a couple albums, like I said, the Phantom Agony. They have a couple albums that I really, really like. This is among my favorites of theirs. And I say that because when Epica puts a new album out, I go, oh, that's awesome. I'm going to listen to Epica. This one, man, this one shook my nuts pretty quickly. This one's killer. I've really only been listening to it for a couple of days. And the reason was because I wanted to go back through and double check records that came out this year and see if I missed something. And I did. I missed this one. So, new Epica album, Aspiral. If you like anything like that, if you are into bands with operatic singers, you are, well, let's be honest, you're already probably a fan of Epica. And if you like Camelot, there's a chance you're already a fan of Epica. But if by chance you're not, check it out. So, Aspiral by Epica, great new record. Love every second of it. I think it's absolutely killer.
All right.
We have time for a couple more.
Yeah.
I think we have time for 1 or 2 more, and then we'll just have to run through the list of what else we have. But
we're going to call it an evening. Well, some of the stuff that I have to run through, are you telling me that you're going to run a train on your list?
I'm gonna run a train on those chicken tenders. That's for sure. Nom 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 nom. I love that movie. It's from Role Models. If you've never seen Role Models, you should.
Anywho, I'm going to talk about Spirit World.
Gun's a dick.
Love Gun. Actually, it's funny because Paul Stanley said that in his book. He's like, I wasn't talking about a gun. I was talking about my dick. I've always wondered.
Oh, I know.
I don't remember if Paul Stanley's book came out first or if that movie came out first. But if the movie came out first, I've always wondered if Paul Stanley's like, hey, that's a good line.
I also don't think that anybody ever questioned it. But
well, no, trust me, people questioned it. You know how it goes. I'm going to talk about Spirit World, Eldorado. I loved their last album, and it's just awesome. Like, Spirit World is one of those bands. Again, this is definitely not a Duff band. They're kind of somewhere in between a thrash band and, like, when I say metalcore, I mean more like Hatebreed. I don't mean the I Will Be Heard Hatebreed. Like, I know you hate that song, and I'm not a big fan of it either. Which is funny because Jamie Josta somehow, some way has become like the face of metal. Like, anytime he's the
metal dude, and he's also the guy that and he's produced a bunch of stuff too.
Yeah, like somehow because I remember when we were teenagers, Hatebreed would come through town all the time, and he was like the hardcore guy. You know what I've noticed that and again, when we say hardcore, so everyone's clear, and I know we've explained this before. When Duff and I say hardcore, what they called hardcore in our hometown is most closely resembles metalcore now. So like the chuggy with the breakdowns where the drummer's doing nothing but hitting a crash cymbal.
Let's be honest with you. The part of Hatebreed you just described, that part of Hatebreed is what you're talking about. I realize that not everything by Hatebreed sounds like that, but if you took that part of that Hatebreed song out of that song and made an entire music scene just that, and mostly guys who can't play instruments.
Well, yeah, it was the entire
metalcore guys can't play instruments. I mean, these particular bands couldn't.
Well, the entire song is built around the breakdown. The entire song is built around the breakdown,
or the entire song is just the breakdown.
That's it.
It's not a hardcore song where there's a breakdown in it. It's a hardcore song where the whole song is just the breakdown. There is no other part of the song, mainly because the guys in the band couldn't play anything.
Well, no, it was genuinely they'd write some garbage before, and then everybody would stop playing. The lead singer would go, and then dun 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 dun, while the drummer's hitting his crash cymbal as hard as he can, like constantly. That's what we're talking about when we say hardcore. But I remember, like, they were the hardcore band, and I've noticed now and we've talked about this before, when you would go, you used to go to hardcore shows. I had a lot of friends that were deep into the hardcore scene. I was friends with them previous to that. Not that not that I wouldn't have been friends.
Yeah,
with
what
them
was interesting
were they not in the hardcore scene, but you know, they just happened. Like, we went.
I went to hardcore shows,
but you went to hardcore shows, and I'll let you.
What was interesting about that is, no, I was gonna say, like, we went to them kind of at different times. I know you went to a few later on when you had some friends that were in that scene, and by that point I wasn't going. But I went to a couple before then, but it was because literally when I was like 14 and 15, it was the only live music in town I could go to.
Yeah.
And I admittedly was conned to I only went to 3. I went to 3. I think I went with you once in like our freshman year, and I went to 2 and 8. I went to 2 the year when I was in 8th grade. I went to 2. No, I've only ever been to 2. I went to 1 in 8th grade, and then I went to 1 in 9th grade with you. Because I went to I smoke cigarettes. I went to that when I was in 8th grade. That's a funny story. There was this band, and they were terrible. Whatever, and the vocalist at the end was like, I need you guys. I don't know why I doubt even this was the way he talked, but it's like, I need you guys to, to get really into this. I mean, what I'm doing up here is really hard. I smoke cigarettes. It's the worst thing ever. Anyway, that was the show when I was pulled aside and said, "You're wearing a Metallica t-shirt. Don't do that again."
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
That's why I never. What's that?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was told never to wear a Metallica t-shirt again.
Well,
and that's why I never went back.
And the reason I brought that up was because, I have a I'm tying this all together. I wanted you to tell your like Metallica shirt story because it amazes me how a lot of those same people who are deep into that scene who are don't wear your Metallica shirt here, don't you dare, are suddenly wearing Metallica shirts now and saying, "Oh, I'm a big thrash guy," and "Oh, I love playing thrash," and "Oh, I've always loved thrash and heavy metal." And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, let me get this straight. You busted balls.
In 95, I was told not to come back with a Metallica shirt on.
You busted balls because somebody wore a classic, and this was not like a Saint Anger shirt. This was not like a low.
No. It was a metal up your ass t-shirt.
Yeah, it was a Ride the Lightning.
It was a metal up your ass t-shirt. I still own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were told not to come back, and now suddenly it's no.
It literally has the toilet with
the knife. Yeah.
It has the toilet on the front. It has on the front. It has the toilet with the hand and a knife going up through it, and it says Metallica metal up your ass. That is the shirt I have.
But again,
I have a Ride the Lightning shirt, but I also still have that one.
So again, but again, and again, I'm not trying to dump on Jamie Josta. Like, I'm not trying to like criticize, I'm not trying to like slam him, but it's just
not
funny.
About Jamie, it's interesting that the scene. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's just funny how, Mr. Hardcore has now become Mr. Metal now that metalcore and hardcore aren't top dog anymore. You know what I mean? And whatever. The guy genuinely could have just dude, he was probably, I don't even know how old Jamie Jost is. I don't know if he's younger than us, older than us, same age, whatever. I mean, at that age, again,
I would guess he's probably a couple years older than us, but
let's look him up. Let's see what year he was born. Jamie Josta, there he is. He was born
77, so he's only a couple years older.
He's a few years older. He's a couple years older than us, a few years at most. So, I mean, at that age, he probably was doing the whole, like, well, I've got to, like, fit in. Like, if I say I like Metallica and Slayer, my Hatebreed's not going to be cool anymore. Fine, I admit that. I understand that. We've all been down those roads, where with our bands, like, we always talked about how if we would have played hardcore shows, we didn't play hardcore shows, our band, would we have been accepted? Scott Ian, even going back to the 80s, would talk, Billy Milano would always talk about how Metallica and Anthrax, when they were in New York together, went to a hardcore show, and Billy had to, like, tell everyone in the crowd, like, don't screw with them. They're cool. Like, they're all right. Because nobody, everybody saw long hair and they assumed that they were like Motley Crue, and everything else like that. So, again, those scenes don't always mesh, and I get you have to fit in with your scene. You've got to like fit in order to make it. And obviously Jamie did something right because he's had a hell of a career. Look, he was just up on stage with Scott Ian, Danny Lilker, and Scott Ian's son, Dave Mustaine's son. Scotty and
I remember I messaged you, and I was, because I remember messaging you about that. I was like, Scotty and just posted a picture of his son, and I'm pretty sure it looks like Dave Mustaine's kid. And I don't know if everybody else is saying that or not. I don't know. Is that a discussion? Do other people talk about that, or is that just you and I?
I think that's just you and I. So look at a picture.
Okay, I'm sorry, but his kid looks like it's Dave Mustaine's.
Look, I love Scotty Ian. Scotty Ian was like, a lot of people say a lot of things about Scotty Ian. The only memory I ever have of meeting Scott Ian was it was February in Ohio, so freezing frickin' cold. He had gotten off stage. He's standing there in shorts and a t-shirt, signing every single kid's autograph. We're dumb 16-year-old kids asking somebody to sign our ticket. He was the only one that walked outside, signed every ticket, shook every hand, with his manager yelling at him the whole time, "Get back inside, get back inside." So, you can trash talk Scott Ian, and maybe we caught him on a good day. Maybe maybe everybody else caught him on a bad day, whatever. But I can say my only personal interaction with Scott Ian was the dude when no one else in those bands, Anthrax, Sebastian Bach, and Pantera would come outside, he did. So so I'm not trying to rip on the guy or like make fun of him or trash him or anything like that. It is funny though. Look at a picture of his son and look at a picture of Dave Mustaine, and there's that tinge of like, hey dude, remember when you invited Metallica up and you put them up and they fired me? Like Dave Mustaine just has that like smirk on his face. Hello, me. It's me again. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Oh, Eldorado by Spirit World. We started talking. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the album. Anyways, I like their album. I like their previous album better. Eldorado's pretty cool. I think they kind of went in weird directions on this album. It might make my top 10. If it makes my top 10, it's going to be one of those like I need 10 kind of situations. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in this album as much as like I listened to it and I'm like, okay. Like it wasn't like I didn't listen to it and say, oh my God, that sucked. I didn't listen to it and say, oh my God, that was amazing. I was just like, okay. So that's my opinion on that. So go ahead.
Let me see. I mean, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about these because these are, I'll throw out, look, I just talking about Epica, and I just mentioned Nightwish. I know I mentioned this record when it came out. There's a new album, a new solo record by Marco Hiatala, which means nothing to you unless you're a Nightwish fan. If you're a Nightwish fan, you would know Marco as being the bass player and second vocalist, the male vocalist for Nightwish. This band doesn't sound like Nightwish, but it sounds like Marco, and it's just an incredible record. I really liked it. I got it right when it came out. It's an incredible record. Listened to it a ton of times. There is a new album by Avantasia, who we used to play. I don't remember if it was on their first metal opera or their second metal opera, with first or second record. But there was a song that Rex and I used to play all the time on the radio. He would not remember. I'm willing to bet you, Rex, you don't remember it. But if I played it and you heard the chorus, you'd go, "Oh yeah, I remember playing that," because we used to play it all the time.
Could be.
And the song that we used to play all the time, Michael Kiske, the singer of Halloween, is the guy who sang it. But anyway, Avantasia is a project, and there's always loads of guest vocals. One of the standouts on this one is Jeff Tate from Queensryche sings on it, and plenty of other people. Michael Kiske, of course, and Roy Khan, I believe, is on a track. And
God,
exactly. It's a record that I really like. So there's Roses from the Deep from Marco Hiatala. There is Here Be Dragons by Avantasia. And I just mentioned it recently. There is a record by the band A to Z that is called A to Z Squared. It is basically Mark Zonder, who is the drummer in a band Warlord, but was also famously the drummer in Fate's Warning for a good 25 years. Started the band, and it's Ray Alder from Fate's Warning and Nick from Redemption. It's a great album. I don't want to say it sounds like Fate's Warning per se, but it's Mark Zonder, so it gives it that Fate's Warning feel, and it's Ray Alder singing, so clearly he's the singer of Fate's Warning. But there are parts through this record that actually, I forget I'm not listening to Fate's Warning. Not a lot, not the whole album, but every once in a while there's a couple little parts that I go, oh man, that's totally, like, that could have been on Inside Out, or that could have been on Disconnected or FWX or something like that. So I really like it. So those are the, I will recap very quickly my 7 records that came out this year that I have listened to a billion times because I absolutely love these. Marco Hiatala, Roses from the Deep, Dream Theater's Parasomnia, The Halo Effect, March of the Unheard, Avantasia, Here Be Dragons, A to Z with the record A to Z Squared. Cradle of Filth is Screaming of the Valkyries, and Epica's Asperol. Those are my favorites. And then I do have a few other ones. I'm just going to run through my list of other records, and then I'll let you just do whatever you want to do with anything that I don't mention, or you're welcome to whatever. You do what you want. Here are the other records that I will say that they didn't blow my skirt up, but they were cool. The new record by Destruction called Birth of Malice, it's good. It's another Destruction album, which is not a criticism. Just when a band puts out a lot of records that are kind of sound like the other ones, sometimes they stand out, sometimes they didn't. I wouldn't say this record stood out, but I did buy it, and I do like it. The new Behemoth record, again, it's good, but look, the new Cradle of Filth, yes, every record for since 2012 has been great, but this is certainly a standout. Like, this one stands out among the others because it's that good. I can't say that about the new Behemoth. The new Candlemass, Black Star, I'm actually not a fan. If I'm being honest with you, I'm not a fan at all of this record. I don't want to say I don't like it. I will just say I listened to it, and I'm probably not ever going to again. So it's only really on my list. It's only really on my list because I think it should be on my list.
I like the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath cover, and actually I do like the title track.
The Sabbath Bloody Sabbath cover, I'll never listen to it again because I either am going to listen to the original or I'm going to listen to one of the other two really good covers of it. So that's not saying theirs is bad. I'm just saying there's three different versions of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, 3 different versions that I like better. So that's kind of weird. And I don't know, man. It's not bad. The title track didn't do anything for me. But I'm putting it on this.
You're saying it did
because
do it for you.
Do it for me. I actually put it on my list more to say I think most people that like Candlemass will like it. The new album by Catatonia, Nightmares as Extensions of the Waking State. I actually like Catatonia. They're kind of hit or miss for me. I listened to this once, and I gave it kind of like it's okay. I need to listen to it again. The new Haunted record, it's really good. I'll let you talk. If you want to talk about the Haunted, you're welcome to. I'm just running through this real quick. I will say I like the new Haunted, and I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't love it. It doesn't, again, it doesn't blow my skirt up, but it's not bad. Like, it's not going to make my list of disappointing records. It's not going to make my list of disappointing records this year. It's not going to make my list of favorites, but I can objectively say it's a very good album. It's just not among my favorites. So those are pretty much the ones that I had left. And I also had Scour on mine as well as an objectively really good album. I would give it a really great score. You know, it's probably a solid 4 out of 5, but it's just less my thing, which is why it wouldn't be on my favorites. But cool record. Anyway, I know you've got some on there that you might want to chat about. So you do with what you want, and then we will, get out of here whenever you want.
So, okay. Actually, let me check. I have to check one thing before I do this, and I'm not stalling. I actually have to check one thing before we do this. I've just got to verify something because I'm potentially going to give you something to bust my balls about. I just have to check.
Oh, good.
Yep. Okay. So, okay. I want to talk about Gruesome, who has a female bass player. I knew there was a female in the band, but I couldn't remember she played bass. What was the band you just sent me? I was familiar with them, but I didn't realize they replaced the guitar player. Primal Fear. Primal Fear. They now have a smoke show guitar player. I love it. I'm here for it. Dude, I'm here for it. I am here for more awesome women being in metal. And that's not me being like, we need more women in metal because I'm here for it because, dude, Crypta's amazing. Nervosa's amazing. Like, I'm here for it, man. I've long we have been a sausage party for far too long. Anyway, so Gruesome, Silent Echoes. Full disclosure, I haven't listened to it yet. I loved their last album, I think it was Wicked Prayers. I love the album. I have all their albums on vinyl. I listen to them. I love them. They are not a death tribute band, but they're about as close as you can get to a band that wants to carry on the legacy of Death. And there's nothing wrong with that. They wear it on their sleeve. They're very proud of it. It's not like Death is out there touring and they're ripping them off. They're not even ripping them off. They're just out there really truthfully carrying the torch.
Which record is this?
This is Silent Echoes, Gruesome.
Right. I need this. I need to get this one because I like this too.
Yeah.
I guess I forgot about it.
Yeah.
I sent this to you and you're like, dude, I have all their albums. I was like, I figured you did, but
yeah,
it's very cool.
No, I had it pre-ordered. Like when you sent it to me, you're like, dude, check this out. And I'm like, yep, got it pre-ordered. It came last week. Again, I have been so insanely busy at work, literally taking the time to turn around and put a record on my turntable and put it on would put me too far behind. So I do work at home, and it sounds stupid to say that, but it's where I'm at right now.
You make $30,000 a year, and you own a home.
I own a home. I do own a home. I do own a home. Breakfast Club, great movie. Bender was harsh, except for Judd Nelson. He was harsh. But Gruesome Silent Echoes is on there. I did like the songs I heard off of it. I liked their last album, so I can only assume this album's going to be awesome. What I did notice that was kind of funny is their last 3 albums had those nice painted covers, and Silent Echoes has more of that like human look. And when I say human, I mean the Death album, human looking kind of like artsy fartsy kind of cover. So I'm really wondering if they're following that kind of transition where they're like, okay, we put out 3 albums with, painted like traditional death metal, whatever. I don't know if you want to call it death metal, whatever covers. Now we have to switch to doing like the symbolic, human, that kind of cover. I don't know. We'll see. The other one I want to talk about was The Haunted. You're right. Songs of Last Resort. I will say this about The Haunted album. I want to listen to it a couple more times. I did listen to it a handful of times, I think twice. It's better than their last album, which doesn't mean their last album was bad, but it's better than their last album. I still think it's not as good as Trend Killer, and I certainly don't think it's as good as Made Me Do It or One Kill Wonder. I love Marco Aro. I'm so glad he's back. I don't mean to crap on their original vocalist, but Marco has always been my favorite Haunted vocalist. Again, I will say this. Ola England's in The Haunted, and I do believe Ola joined before he was Ola. Like, I want to say, he joined before he was Ola. And when I say that, it was for the, I don't think anybody listening to this show, but it is possible. Ola England's a massive YouTube person. I never heard of him until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. He was touring Dimebag's estate, and he put up a video of I got into touring Dimebag's Guitar Vault with Rita and Grady and everything else, and I'm like, who's this guy? Like, how did he get in there? Like, can I get in there? Like, at this point, can the Heavy Metal Hangover tour Dimebag's estate? Because Rita, if you're listening, and I know you are. Oh wait, never mind. You're a female. You wouldn't be listening. Anyways, but Ola, I'm wondering how much of Ola being Ola is helping this album, because you did make a good point.
A lot.
The music video focuses a lot on Ola.
Yeah, and not the guy who basically ran the band the whole time. It's Ola and their vocalist.
And of course they
have a guitar player who was the dude in that band.
Jensen.
Jensen, you wouldn't even know he's in it. The guy from Witchery, you wouldn't even know he's in the video.
I love Witchery too.
And I'm not criticizing. I'm saying they're gonna get more hits because of people who like Ola than they are that people who like The Haunted.
Oh yeah, Ola was constantly posting updates, recording the new album with The Haunted, whatever. Look, I have nothing against Ola. I will admit, you and I used to hate him. Like, and when we say hate,
his videos were stupid.
But that's the thing, and that's the thing. I had nothing against Ola. Like, it's not like if I met him, I would spit in his face and walk away. But you and I always talked about how all of his videos when he first started his channel were him literally plugging into an amp or a pedal or whatever and going dun 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 oh dun 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 oh dun 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 oh. Like, that was like his entire channel. Does it chug? He would just chug the low string and be like, oh, ah, ooh, ah, and sound like he was like, whipping his Skippy. When he actually started becoming like, and I think he even acknowledged this in his channel where he was like, when I started becoming more me and like letting my personality come through, because at the end of the day, Ola has always been one of us. Like, he's not some guy who was in a band. Like, he was always a fan. Like, he was a Dimebag fanboy before he ever got to join 6 Feet Under or The Haunted or any of these bands. So when he became like, when he started like letting his personality out and like being a goofball, because he is a freaking goofball, and I mean that in the most endearing way. Like, I felt like at that point I was like, oh, he's just a normal dude. He's not just some tool who sits there chugging on the low E string being like, I gotta go change my underwear. So I don't know. Anyways, Songs of Last Resort. I really did dig the album. I want to listen to it a couple more times. I want to talk about another band, Cryptosis, Celestial Death. Cryptosis used to be a band called Distillator. I really liked Distillator. I picked up their albums. They were an old school-ish thrash band, thrash death, whatever you want to call them. I don't know why they decided to suddenly change to the band Cryptosis. Their last album was really cool, and I want to say it was actually on my top 10 when it came out, and I can't remember how many years ago that was. This album, I will say, it's interesting, and to be fair, again, like you said, I want to listen to it again. I listened to it once through. And to be honest with you, the ones through, their last album, I listened to it once through and was like, this is amazing. This album, I listened to it once through and I was like, it's all right. So I kind of want to listen to it again. Maybe I was in a mood. But Cryptosis, Celestial Death, wanted to mention them. Midnight, Steel, Rust, and Disgust. Now, Midnight, I love Midnight. Duff should, and I know he does.
I really do love it. I love this band and forget about them all the time.
No. And he should love them because every single one of their covers is an innuendo. Or just boobs.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this Steel, Rust, and Disgust, I have to admit, this actually hits home for us in a little way. The reason being is because every single song on this album, except for two, I think, are cover songs. But they're also from Cleveland-based bands. Now, you and I did not grow up or live in Cleveland, but we grew up just east of Cleveland in Erie. And we knew a lot of bands in the Cleveland metal scene. So what really is interesting about this album is, again, it's an album based on Cleveland. And although we didn't grow up there, you and I, we talked about how we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've played shows in Cleveland. We've played with Cleveland bands. So it's kind of cool. I admittedly have not listened to the entire album yet. Again, it's a timing thing. It is sitting over in my queue. I've paid for it, but I just haven't listened to it yet. And that brings me on to the next album, Warbringer, Wrath and Ruin. Again, the two singles are...
I like Warbringer.
I love Warbringer. I've got their last couple albums. This album's amazing. Wrath and Ruin, it's one of the people I follow on YouTube, Chris Thrash. I think that's his name, Chris Thrash. It's like thrashed, THRES. There's the whiskey. THRASHED.
I've drank beer with them. I've totally drank beer with these guys, I think. Hold on.
Warbringer, yeah. But Thrash TV, he's obsessed with the song The Sword. He always pumps him up. So, give him a shout out. He's actually a Canadian hockey player, not professional, but like beer league like me. He likes some of our posts occasionally, particularly when they relate to hockey and stuff like that. Big Thrash guy. He's been posting about Warbringer and how good this album is. Again, I've listened to a handful of songs, have not listened to the whole thing yet. To my detriment, this week I have a vacation planned, and I plan on sitting down and listening to a lot of these albums during that vacation. Now, the last two I have on my list have not actually been released yet, but I wanted to mention them because one is releasing on Friday, and one is one of my current favorite bands, and I've seen them live. They're kind of playing Brooklyn when just after they release their album. I'm going to try and get out to that show. But the first is Revocation, New Gods, New Masters. Nether Heaven was, I think, if it wasn't my number one, it was damn close when that album came out, I think a year or two ago. I was What?
Sorry, I was trying to figure out when I saw Warbringer. Sorry, backing up really quick. In 2012, I saw Iced Earth and Symphony X, and Warbringer was the opening band.
Oh.
That wasn't, but I'm pretty sure I saw them one other time. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was bothering me that I couldn't remember when I saw them. So, I saw them, Tremont. Okay, I gotta look up one other one. I lied. This is not the band I had beer with. I'm trying to remember who it was. Damn it. Anyway, I did see Warbringer. I confused two bands, but I saw Warbringer open with Iced Earth and Symphony X. So I wasn't wrong. I was just wrong about them being the band I hung out with that I saw with Napalm Death. Continue. Sorry. Did not mean to interrupt.
Revocation. So again, I was fortunate enough to see them open for, I think it was Morbid Angel, I think. Anyway,
you got to see them when he couldn't play guitar.
Well, I did see Dave Davidson. He broke his arm like the night before, so of course I staked out I literally I was planted myself right in front of where Dave Davidson was going to be, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch this guy play guitar. He walks out with his hand in a sling, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? And he gets on stage and he's like, yeah, I broke my arm last night. I flipped out. Luckily, I did get to see him only a couple months later, after he had healed up, play with Metal Allegiance, which was cool because I got to see him on stage with, Dave Ellefson, from Testament, Alex Skolnick, Mike Portnoy. So that was actually really cool. So I'm happy I got to see that. I'm not disappointed at all. Actually, I am disappointed I didn't get to see him play Revocation songs, but hopefully I'll get to see rectify that soon. And then last is Inhuman Condition. It's a band that kind of split off from Massacre. I believe everybody that is in Inhuman Condition was either on the Inhuman Condition Massacre EP, or they were at some point in the band Massacre. But their last couple of albums were awesome. They released a cover album where I have to admit, their cover of Godzilla, originally by Blue Oyster Cult, it was amazing, off their Panic Prayer EP. So I again pre-ordered this album. I pre-ordered the bonus pack that comes with all this extra stuff, like a bandana and patches and all this other cool stuff. Can't wait to get it.
Patches O'Houlihan,
yeah. I can't wait to get it. I'm super excited for it. I've loved their Rat God was amazing.
Rat God was really good.
Yeah, Rat God was amazing.
Really, really good.
Yeah, the album after that, which I can't remember. I'm having a brain fart on the name, but Panic Prayer, their EP they released, I think last year or the year before, was really good. Can't wait for that. So Mind Trap is the name of the album. Really excited for it. Have it ready, have it queued up, order it directly from the band. I really think that the only way you can get their vinyl is by ordering it from the band too, which I'm happy to do. So the only other one I wanted to mention, and I don't know how much you want to go into this. I know you wanted to shred this album, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't have the same problem you did. Cancer Inverted World.
I don't hate the album. I hate one song, but I don't need to go down that road.
I was really excited.
I like the rest of the album a lot.
I was really excited for Cancer to release a new album. I remember I got the album in the mail and I messaged you and I'm like, dude, I got cancer.
Well, no, I knew
you knew what I was thinking. I knew you knew what I was talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that.
I know.
I'm not a tool enough to really try and trick my friend.
I forgot they had a new album coming out though.
No, I got it in the mail and I was super
thinking
excited.
I thought you meant their older stuff, but
no, I'm missing I think one of their albums. It's the one with the clown on the front of it. I can never remember the name of it, but yeah, so it's a really cool album. I enjoyed listening to it. Old school meat and potatoes death metal. It's really cool. But so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I got to admit, as of September, there's 14 albums on a list right now that I really like. I'd say more than 10 of them are albums that I'd say are contenders to be on the top 10 list. So I can only this is only what we know about. I'm sure that in the next 6 months we're going to see other bands releasing albums. And after we talked about how last year, I don't want to say last year was a dry spell, because I think after we kind of looked backwards, we were like, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
No, it was good, but it was better than we thought. But on the other hand,
there wasn't those like, oh my God,
it wasn't an exciting year, dude. And again, I don't mean to mention it again, but I don't think the Dream Theater is my favorite album of the year, but it really excited me.
Yeah.
Last album had a bunch of really good albums. Last year had some great albums, but for the most part, it wasn't a year that made us like excited all year.
Yeah. Cryptopsy and Inhuman Condition releasing albums are like, whoa, awesome moments for me.
Yeah. I need to listen to new. Did you say Inhuman Condition is out yet or not?
No, it comes out next week.
Okay,
comes out Friday.
I need to make sure
a week from today.
I need to add it to my thing.
Yeah, it's Mind Trap. It's really cool. I hope it comes in the mail soon. Like, I know that. So I talked about this before. I've stopped ordering from Amazon as much as I possibly can. Occasionally, you can't avoid it. For instance, the Cryptopsy album I got today, I ordered from Seasons of Mist, which is like their distributor, directly from them. Scour, I ordered directly from Housecore. The Haunted, I ordered from Plaid Room Records. I think Gruesome, you know what? Gruesome, I ordered from Amazon because I had pre-ordered it months ago, and I tried to cancel the order to order from Plaid Room Records, but it wouldn't let me. Cryptopsy, I ordered, I think I already mentioned that. Game Over, I can't remember if I ordered, either way. Midnight, I ordered, I think, from Hell's Headbangers. Warbringer, I think. So, I mean, I'm trying as much as I can. Inhuman Condition, I ordered from their Bandcamp site. Revocation, I'm going to order directly from their label. Look, as soon as Amazon sent me a glass beaker instead of the albums that I pre-ordered and was excited to listen to, and then when I called them and told them, like, dude, you screwed me, they were just like, yeah, that really sucks, doesn't it? Well, we'll refund you when we feel
First
like
he
it.
Screwed you.
Then he screwed me, and now I'm going to screw her. No.
Gosh, I love that.
Freaking Black Sheep, great movie. So you and I did some videos. I don't know if we're ever going to release them. I dropped them in our Dropbox. Eventually, I think you and I are going to, we're going to try and do reaction videos, or like, I don't want to say Mystery Science 3000 videos, but I know you and I want to watch Airheads and do like a commentary, and you can listen along as you follow along with the movie, and we'll try and match it up as best as we can. But maybe no one will watch it, but Airheads, Wayne's World 2, those are some movies. Rockstar, like, there's a handful of movies that you and I always talk about that I feel like our listeners...
We said Dazed and Confused, right?
Dazed and Confused. There's a handful of movies that I feel like, while a lot of times we can't sit there and watch those films with you, I feel like it'd be funny to hear our reaction to them, and with as much as we talk about them. So you can take your DVD or your digital video file, or your the one you got from the Jolly Roger, and queue it up and kind of like put us on. We'll try and match it up. Give you a line like, okay, stop at 10 seconds, into your DVD, and here's where we're going to.
The other way to do it is, the more often we can find ones that are streaming, that makes it even easier.
Well, yeah, but we can't release audio or video of the movie.
No, I know,
because we'll get flagged. Like, you and I can.
That's not what I mean. I'm saying if it's streaming, it's even easier for people to queue it up. Is more what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, like, any way you want to watch it. I know Airheads is, for some reason, is really difficult to find. Streaming. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm holding on to my DVD like grim death, because
me too.
The Blu-ray is out of print. It's been, and it's super expensive. It's been out of print for years. It was streaming, I think, on Amazon or something for a while, but it's gone now. So but either way, you and I I think that's a project down the road for us. We figured out a way to do it. We figured out a way to make it sound halfway decent. So I think down the road we're going to post those, when we actually have time to do them. But I think it'd be fun. Let us know if you think that'd be fun, if it's something you'd be interested in hearing. I mean, I wish there was a way, honestly, I wish there was a way we could organize watch parties, but I don't think you can do that anymore, where we can invite our listeners into a Discord channel or something and all watch something, but I also don't want to get sued or have our stuff taken down. So I don't know how to do that. So anyways, I digress.
I mean, we can still do the thing where everybody's watching it at the same time, but
some of the things are taking those things down now that the pandemic's over. A lot of those services are now putting that kind of feature behind a paywall, which sucks. But what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyways,
I guess
we're going to try and do some more fun stuff with the show. That's not just us yakking. But we'll see where we get with that, because we are both busy individuals with, I don't want to say we have lives because that's being a little too generous, but you know what I mean.
Well, no, I mean, it actually didn't rain 3 days this week, and I actually got on my motorcycle. 3 days.
3 whole days.
It's the middle. It's almost the end of June. And I've had 3 days this year that I've been able to ride my motorcycle. It was wacky. Like I went to the local Harley dealership had a barbecue thing, and I rode down, went okay, and I rode home. That's all I did. I rode down and I parked the bike, got up and said, "No, okay," and I went home. Because there was a really crappy band playing. But I also went it was 6:30 and the thing ended at 8. So by that time it had basically cleared out. And actually I wanted to talk about the band, but I'm not going to do it now. Maybe I'll remember it for next week. But, yeah,
the band name.
I went and twice there was that, and then twice 2 different local American Legion posts have bike nights, which is basically just people anybody you can drive or ride out there, and they just have they have barbecues or they have hot dogs, and you can just buy one, and people drink beer. I don't drink any alcohol. I won't have even one beer if I'm on a motorcycle, but I go out, I get a Diet Coke and sometimes a hot dog, and then I go home. But yeah, I got to do that 3 times. I almost rode 4 times. This is great. On Thursday, the weather report had 0% chance of rain, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I went to go to another bikes and barbecue thing, and I got almost 10 minutes from my house and got caught and all of a sudden I got caught in a storm. It wasn't a thunderstorm, but it started just raining obnoxiously heavy. And so I went to the next spot I could turn around and I just went home. Wasn't supposed to rain. By the way, when you are on a motorcycle and it's raining, it sucks. And not because you're getting wet. Because when you're going anything over 25 miles an hour, you're getting pelted with rain. It actually just doesn't feel good. I don't care that I'm wearing gloves. It sucks. It just absolutely sucks. It's not like I don't want to get wet. It sucks. But yeah, 3 times. Go figure. So almost like I was able to enjoy myself, other than the only other way I enjoy myself. Oh
well, yeah. I have not actually been able to grill, and that I know you're a big griller too.
Yeah, I'm an obsessive griller. Yeah,
and you've helped me along the way. I've got the Vortex going now, and I've got a whole bunch of others. I'm going to cook some burgers tomorrow. But I same thing. It's been raining like crazy here, and
oh, dude. By the way, real quick, I was gonna do a pork butt. I went to something like 4 different grocery stores.
What's her name?
Everyone was out of pork. There were no pork butts or ribs. There were no pork butts or ribs anywhere. And I'm like,
doesn't it always?
It occurred to me.
Doesn't it always?
It occurred to me that
doesn't it always suck when you're feeling a little lonely and you just can't find a pork butt?
I know. No, seriously though, no stores had them, and now in fairness, it didn't occur to me that it is most likely, first of all, the first weekend without rain in the last 8 weeks, and it's a lot of schools are having graduations and. Okay, fine.
The same thing happened to me.
One store said they're going to get it in the morning, so I'm going to try to go in the morning and get some.
The same thing happened to me. I went to 2 grocery stores last night, and no one had hamburger. The only hamburger they had was the 80%, which is a little too. And I'm not going to turn this into a grilling podcast.
And see, this is a situation where Rex needs to learn that you should never use meat more lean than 80-20. But that's another story.
I do 85.
Yeah,
that's what
wrong,
I read online. Okay. That's what I read online.
Yeah, but whoever you read it from was wrong. But continue.
So I use 85. That's what I was recommending. But I did find some. But I went to the store and everything was wiped out, and it was. I'm talking about ground beef. And I was like, what the hell? So but what I did find was my new not my new obsession. So 2 years ago, Mountain Dew released something called Summer Freeze. For those of you who don't know, I am a Bomber Pop addict. And I don't know if Bomber Pops exist outside of the United States, but what they are is they are red, white, and blue popsicles. And they're 3 different flavors, whatever. I'm addicted. I'm a Bomber Pop addict. I have been since I was a kid. Well, Mountain Dew released a soda called Summer Freeze that is flavored like a Bomber Pop. So, a handful of years ago, I was stupid, and I was like, I'll just buy a couple cases. And, I bought a couple cases, enjoyed them. Then they took them off the market because it was a seasonal thing. And last year, I'm jonesing. I literally kept a can of Summer Freeze in my refrigerator for 8 months, and I treated it like it was a bottle of Dom Perignon, where it was like, oh, we can't open that. We only need to save that for special occasions. So this time they re-released it. I went to 5 stores and bought them out of every single can of Summer Freeze I could find. And that's when I found out they were out of hamburger too. But I've got hamburger in the fridge now. It's ready to go. I'm going to season it tomorrow. I'm going to grill it up tomorrow. And I'm going to have some hamburgers. So I'm excited. I'm also going to go CD shopping. I'm going to go shopping for some. It's going to be fun. I did. Oh, what I had started to say before we started going off on this tangent. I did buy something, by the way. So again, I own a CD player. So what I've discovered I really enjoy doing is I like listening to cassettes and CDs in my backyard while I'm grilling. So I bought a handful of CDs. I've never actually owned, and I don't know, did you own this album, Duff? Halford's Crucible album?
Hold on. Yes, I had Crucible on CD. I did not have Metal on CD, but I did have Crucible. I had Resurrection, Live Insurrection, and Crucible. I don't have anything after that.
I did not have Crucible. I had the other 2.
Good.
It is. I got Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. For some reason, I have it on vinyl. Never owned it on CD. So the reason I'm buying CDs is because they're cheap, and it's hard to listen to a record.
Same reason we used to buy vinyl, because it was cheap.
Well, but for me, from this standpoint, yeah, I mean, I can afford the vinyl now, but from what I mean is, though, it's hard to listen to a record in your backyard. It's hard to put a record on in your backyard. It's easy to take a boombox out and listen to a CD. We sold our soul for rock and roll, because I got to be honest with you. Sometimes you just want to listen to the hits by Sabbath. I got Dio, the very best at Dio, because there was 2 Dio comps I was debating on, and I ended up getting this one because, again, I got the Ramones Adios Amigos, and a full disclosure for me, there's a cover song on that, and I think it's originally by Fiddlesticks. Who's it by? Tom Waits. I Don't Want to Grow Up. If you want to know Rex,
you want to be a Toys R Us kid?
No, if you want to know Rex, listen to that song and read the lyrics and understand them. That is how I feel. I got the 2 dicks. Yes, I got 2 dicks, everybody. 2 disc. See, there's the whiskey chiming in. Cars anthology. You know why I got that? Do you know why I got that?
No idea.
I have a Cars Greatest Hits, but do you know what song it's missing? And you should be able to name this song and why it's important.
I have no idea.
Come on, man. I'll give you a hint.
I'll
give you a hint.
What Cars song would be missing?
There's a Cars song missing on this Greatest Hits that I own, that I got at the thrift store, that is on this one, and I'll give you a hint: a red bikini. Moving in Stereo, man. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where the guy's pulling a U in the bathroom. Where Judge Reinhold's pulling a Duff in the bathroom.
Why? That's not on the. Wait. What is that not on?
It's not on the Greatest Hits I bought. It's like 10. I don't know. So I bought it.
It's not like it was a. It's on their. It's on their freaking self-titled album. It's not like it's.
Here's.
That's why. No. That's why I didn't go.
No.
There.
I know. And I wasn't trying to put
because it's not like it's a. It's not like it's a random song.
And I was not trying to put you on the spot. I was literally
no, I know, but that's why
underlining
I didn't think of it.
So the Greatest Hits I have is Just What I Needed, Since You're Gone, You Might Think, Good Times Roll, Touch and Go, Drive, Tonight She Comes, My Best Friend's Girl, Heartbeat City, Let's Go, I'm Not the One, Magic, and Shake It Up. That's the Greatest Hits I got right now. This is a 2-disc. And I got to be honest with you, I know this is a metal channel. The Cars were one of those bands where I don't think that Rick Ocasek could write a bad song. I literally think if Rick Ocasek said, I want to write a POS song that no one will listen to, it somehow would become a #1 hit. I really genuinely think that. Oh, but anyway, so I digress. I also got the Scorpions Blackout because sometimes you just want to hear in the backyard, there's no one like you. I can't wait for the nights with you. Also, it's my favorite cover. I ordered Iggy and the Stooges' Raw Power. I love the song Raw Power. And, of course, you'll appreciate this one. I had to get Rat and Roll on CD.
Oh, cool.
Do you know why? Body talk. I hear your body talk. But you know what the most important reason why I ordered that and some of the other CDs? I got some more Ramones and everything else. But do you know why I ordered that? Do you know why I ordered all those albums?
Well, no idea, but
the reason I ordered all those albums is because I'm half in the bag and I accidentally hit purchase.
Oh, well, that helps.
I literally was like, "Hey, I'm gonna see what I have in my cart," and I hit purchase now, and I'm like, "Oh, damn." Luckily, again, CDs aren't expensive, but if those were vinyl, I'd be like $500 in the hole. But it's just funny.
I've been $500. I've paid $500 to be in a hole. Never mind.
You paid.
We don't need to go down.
Oh no, come on, dude. No. Don't act like you're that much of a high roller.
Oh no, I mean total over the course of many years, and many visits. God, what did I see? The last thing I'll say is I saw a T-shirt that said it's not a whorehouse, it's a whore home. That's the greatest shirt I've ever seen.
There was a skit on Saturday Night Live, and this was another one of the ones I sent to Duff, and I'm like, dude, this is so you. Where the guy, the waiter on Mother's Day, he's talking to two moms, and he's like flirting with them and hitting on them, and the kids are getting mad, and he goes, hey, look, you got to be in your mom for 9 months. I'm only looking for 20 minutes.
That's what's his nuts. That's
Oh yeah. Wiley Goggins, I think his name.
No, it's not. It's Walton Goggins. Is that his name?
Goggins is his last
Walton
name.
Goggins. Yeah.
But
Yeah. He, I think of him from The Shield. I think was the first thing I saw him in.
Well, I think there's two quotes.
I think that's when I first found out who that guy was. But
there's two quotes I think of. That's one quote from him. Look, you got to be in your mom for 9 months. I'm only looking for 20 minutes. That one, and
that is a great sketch. It is a great sketch.
That quote,
not by anybody else in it except for him, but yeah.
Well, I kind of I got to be honest with you. For some reason, I'm kind of into what's her name, Heidi Gardner. I don't know why. She's the Saturday Night Live
or something.
What? No, she doesn't play bass. I don't know why. I'm kind of.
Well, then
I just kind of dig her. I don't know.
No, because she's
about it.
She's one of those people that is somehow really attractive and somehow hideous all at the same time, and both for the same reasons.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but that line,
you know what I mean? Like she's just odd looking.
Well, that's exactly it.
And it confuses me.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. That's how I feel. I'm like, that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know why I find her like so attractive. Anyways, but the other line by Walt,
it's a simple fact of sometimes something it is as attractive as it is unattractive, and all for the same reasons. It's very weird.
Much like myself. No, but there's the other line I think of was, it's all over like, Instagram and TikTok. I don't have a TikTok, but it's all over Instagram. And the other quote I associate with Duff is, I ain't asking for much. I just want a 8-ball and $2 million. That's the other one I say. That's such a Duff line. I ain't asking for much. I just want a 8-ball and $2 million.
And I just want to see what you got for me.
Well,
show me your blanks. Now I want to go listen to that.
That one, I was actually laughing with somebody today, and I was like, "What was the other song? What? I just want to see what you got for me." There was another song where I brought that up too. I can't remember what it was, but there's a Duff line. I just want to see what you got for me. What? I just want to see what you got for me.
What? But see, that's what you got to add, though. See, the song just says, I just want to see what you got for me. To make it like me, you got to go, what? Because, like, wait a second. Wait, how could you have a problem with this?
Well, that you would have already said 6 other sleazebag things before that.
Yeah, I would have looked at him and be like, come on, you're upset about that?
You would have said, loose the bra.
The other things I've said?
I'm going to buy you a beer. Now lose the bra. What? I just want to see what you got for me.
Let's do a beautiful thing.
Let's do a beautiful thing. Lose the bra. I can't believe you're talking to me like that. What? I just want to see what you got for me.
What? Make it sound like it's their fault.
Exactly. Like what you said, there's nothing wrong with, and their reaction to it is actually what's wrong.
I'm trying to do you a favor.
What? I just want to see what you got. And the fact that you said what you got for me, like as though it was expected, like you should have gone out tonight expecting that Duff was going to run into you.
Oh man, gotta love it a lot.
I have always
anyway.
said,
hey, it is about time we. Good. If you got more sleazeball things to talk about,
I have always said, if you want to know what it's like to meet Duff, watch the movie Beetlejuice, where they dig up Beetlejuice. That sequence, right up until nice effing model, is what it's like to meet Duff in person.
Well, that and at the end of the movie when he tries to grab the legs of the woman next to him.
Yeah, that too. I bought at Spirit Halloween a cutout, a wooden cutout of that, and I was like, you need to own this.
I have it.
I was like, you need to own this because it's you. Where he's like feeling up the leg, and because the thing about that is, it's not even the fact that he looks over and tries to like feel up the leg. It's the reaction when she hits him with the book. Hey, like again, like she did something wrong. Hey, like that's Duff.
Oh, it's good stuff.
We all love Duff because he's such a sleazeball.
Well, you go.
He's.
I don't have much else going for me.
It's funny because you're becoming somewhat of an urban legend, I think, because of the show. Like you're becoming somewhat of not an urban legend, a folk hero. Like you're.
Yes, I'm definitely. I'm a man among men.
One day you're going to be up there with Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed.
I expect an entire Klingon opera to be
like
written about.
Paul Bunyan chopped down all the trees. Johnny Appleseed planted them. Duff felt up women's asses. The whiskey is flowing, my friend. You asked. Just remember,
my lawyer told me.
Just remember, you asked.
My lawyer said, A, I shouldn't talk about that. My lawyer told me two things. One, I shouldn't talk about that, and two, I need a better lawyer.
Duff just wants to see what you've got for him. Hey, just remember, as you're getting annoyed with my craziness, you asked for this at the beginning of the show.
No, I know. What was I watching the other day? I was watching the movie The Campaign. If you've never seen the movie The Campaign with Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I remember.
I actually would go as far as to say of all of Will Ferrell's like outlandish movies, think of like Step Brothers and movies like that. The Campaign is, I think, his most completely outlandish. I mean, it is crazy and it's absolutely hysterical. But his one kid is like, I got a whole box full of cooter shots underneath my bed, or something like that. I'm misquoting it, but I was like, hey man, he's got pictures of naked lady.
I got pictures of naked ladies lying on.
It is so true. It is so true.
You do.
It is so true.
I'll never forget when you were like, dude, I sing Animal at karaoke, and I'm like, well, that figures. And you're like, no. You know why, right? And I'm like, why? And you're like, because I got pictures of naked ladies. And I'm like,
and that was another one of those stories that I told you on the show. You didn't know. That was a conversation we had live on the show.
Yes, it was. You're like, you know why I sang that? Why? Because I got pictures of naked ladies. By the way,
lying on the bed. Oh man,
what did I see this week? So Sonia Anubis, who's in Cobra Spell, formerly of Crypta, what did I see this week that I'm like,
formerly of she was also in
Burning Witches, wasn't she?
Burning Witches, yeah.
So
she was in Burning Witches.
She's now like an OnlyFans. Like I think she honestly does more OnlyFans now than she does. Like Cobra Spell does stuff, but like I genuinely think her channel is now mostly OnlyFans.
Well, once you start effing on film, there's no real reason to do anything else. Right?
But she said something this week, and I was like, I can't remember what I sent you, but it was literally like, again, more proof that this is your perfect woman.
She's like, it had something to do with.
Oh, that's right. She has the musical interests of a 40-year-old divorced dad. That was it.
I was like, well, I am 40 and I definitely listen to music like that.
Yeah,
it's funny.
No, exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. And I was like, yep. Yeah. You're a sleazeball too. There's not enough of us out there. But but the ones of us that are, we earned it. Oh man, I don't know. Dude, we are going on 2:45. I wasn't suggesting we can the episode because you're schlitzed. I was just suggesting because we've been.
No, I'm fine with that. I've just been telling jokes. I've been shooting from the hip.
No, I've been just looking at filth. I mean, what else do I do?
I do have a new computer. I haven't christened yet, so.
I christen it before I get home. I christen it in the store when I'm just seeing if it worked. I mean, come on. Yeah. That's why when I buy a new computer, I get pissed when I have to charge it first.
Just imagine Duff in the Apple store like, well, I really need to see what this thing can do. What do you mean, sir?
Hey, I told you I need. Why else do you think I needed to check the resolution?
Sir, there's kids in here. Well, tell them not to look. Don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Don't look at me. What? I just want to see what you got for me.
Oh.
That's funny stuff.
Oh man. Anyway, yeah, no. So we'll talk about figuring out some of this stuff about seeing if we can't do some sort of movie thing, or you know what? I don't even know how to I don't even know where to begin. We got to figure that sort of thing out. We say this all the time, and one of these days we will actually get around to doing it. But in the meantime, luckily for you, you've got the show, because I don't know where your life would be without this show. All I know is it's possible that your life would be worse.
I wouldn't be
it's very possible your life would be a lot better without the show too. But
I can tell it. Well, if you're talking to our listeners, I don't know, but if you're talking to me, I can assure you that I probably wouldn't be on the future liver donor list. Yes, I would.
Well, yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Well, you know what though? If it wasn't for the show, you wouldn't have a copy of Wolverine Blues on CD.
I also wouldn't have about 10 other albums I accidentally just ordered. No, I mean, truthfully and honestly, I can't wait to listen. Like, I keep talking about this again. I want to do more social media stuff. Not about like, hey, look what I'm having for dinner and that kind of crap, but like, I've been posting on my personal Instagram a lot of like, hey, this is what I'm listening to in the backyard, and it's always like, you know, a cassette of glam metal or cassette or a CD or whatever. I kind of should put those on more on our show to, you know, bring more activity, but I don't know, like maybe we'll do that more. Again, I want to keep our Instagram for the show metal focused. I don't want to turn it into like, you know, oh look, Rex and Duff or Duff are barbecuing again, and here's their lamb chop or here's their steak. I want to keep it like, hey, I'm having a beer in the backyard while listening to Rat or Metallica or Slayer or Cannibal Corpse or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to keep it that way. Maybe we'll start posting more often. I don't know. Now that the summer's out there, now that I'm listening to more music outside, I think that it's going to be a little bit more easier to do that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff changes. That's our problem, is very rarely the act of actually doing whatever this thing we're talking about it is. Like, it's not the problem is not making the video, or it's the problem of figuring out either technologically a way that's actually going to work, or figure out a way that's not going to be behind a paywall or blocked or whatever. That's always the annoying part. It's very rarely, it's like, oh, just make a video. It's like, well, we can make a freaking video. That's not the problem. You know, the problem is not violating the copyright and, or whatever other crap we got to worry about. So anyway, it is time we get out of here. I'm going to go listen to some of these records, because I just added a few. I want to listen to the new Gruesome, and I definitely have the Inhuman Condition queued up, so when it drops, it'll be right in my iTunes, so I can listen to that as well. I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, don't forget to get a hold of us. Like we said before, Instagram tends to work better. We tend to get the notifications more. That's why if we haven't got back to you on Facebook, like Rex said a long time ago on the show, we will. But Instagram usually works a little bit better. But again, if we don't see it, it's literally just because we didn't see it. We promise we're not ignoring you on purpose. So anyway, want to thank you very much for listening. My name is Duff.
I think my name is Rex. I'll have to double check that.
Just check your underwear.
My name is Seagram7.
Exactly. Oh, man. Anyway, we will see you next week on another episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover. Congratulations for actually making it all the way through this episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover
with your beer-guzzling, head-banging hosts, Rex and Duff.